All right, good evening, everyone. I am Shannon Rutherford, the town planner for Farmington. We are going to start our Plan and Zoning Commission meeting with a roll call of the members. Pat Carrier.
Here.
Mike Graboulas.
Here.
Liz Sanford.
Here.
Inez St. James.
Here.
Matt Bandel.
Here.
James Ratcliffe.
Here.
I will note for the record, we have 3 members absent: Scott Halstead, Matt Hutwagner, and alternate commissioner Bobby Canto.
Thank you, Shannon. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Town of Farmington Plan and Zoning Meeting. Today is November 6th. Before we begin, Liz, I would like to nominate you as a secretary. Is that all right with you?
That is fine.
All right. If you can please read the legal notice. Great.
Notice is hereby given that the Town Plan and Zoning Commission will hold a hybrid in-person and online public hearing on Monday, November 6th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers on the following applications. Dunning Industries, Inc., application for a special permit and site plan approval for Nursery and Garden Center at 1079, 1085, 1091 Farmington Avenue, BR, R30, and FP zones. The Metro Realty Management Corporation application for amendment to the regulations to add the New Britain Avenue Opportunity Zone, change of zone from C1 to NBAO zone, and site plan approval for 91 residential rental units pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 8-30G at lot 8562 New Britain Avenue, north of 1690 New Britain Avenue. Noreen Galvin, application for text amendment to the zoning regulations, Article 4, Section 21, accessory apartments. Interested parties are encouraged to participate in this hybrid public hearing. Participation in person is at 1 Monteith Drive, Town Hall, Town Council Chambers, or online participation is via the link to the town meeting on the Town of Farmington's website. A copy of this proposal is online and available or by calling the planning department at Farmington Town Hall, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 18th day of October, 2023, Town Plan and Zoning Commission, Inez St. James, Chair.
Thank you, Liz. And for everyone that's here and online, we're going to cover new business items. The applicant has an opportunity to tell us about their application. There's no public comment during the section. And then we will roll into the public hearing portion of our meeting where you, the audience, get to participate, and we'll let you know when. Commissioners, we do have a second new business item that I would like to add, and this will require a motion second to add it. It's an application from Brian Burbank to accept an application for special permit for construction of accessory structure or detached garage in excess of 700 square feet located at 10 Glen Hollow Drive, R20 zone, and schedule public hearing with a recommended hearing date of December 11, 2023. If you agree, we need a motion and second to add to the agenda.
You have something to read?
Yeah, I got it. I'll take it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
yes.
Yeah,
I'll
I do.
make a motion to accept the application from Brian Burbank for a special permit for construction of accessory structure detached garage in excess of 700 square feet located at 10 Glen Hollow Drive, R20 zone, and schedule a public hearing with a recommended hearing date of December 11th, 2023.
Does that work?
Well, we need
Sort
to
of.
add
You
it,
have to
to
add
so
it.
at the moment, we're just adding it to the agenda.
Okay.
Are we
I
okay
just
adding it
just
to the
added to the
agenda? I know,
agenda.
it's-
So
Can we just go back and like,
you went to.
can we just re-record that?
to step 2.
It's okay. It's all.
It was
That'll
perfect.
end up on the cutting room floor, I swear.
Good.
So that was part
okay.
2.
Yeah.
But you did beautifully.
Yeah.
So you practiced.
Sorry, election
So-
tomorrow. It's nervous energy. It's all good.
Yeah, you're good. So we just need to add a motion to add this item to the agenda.
Thank you, Shannon.
I'd like to make a motion to add the application from Brian Burbank to the agenda this evening. Thank you.
And second?
Second.
Wow.
Sorry, Mike.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
You
we're
get
good.
the next.
So, yeah, and actually, before we continue, since we do have some members absent, everyone is a voting member. Okay, thank you. All right. That is out of the way. Wonderful.
Great start.
Great
I
stuff.
say it's not full moon. This could be really interesting.
All right. No,
Don't we?
we'll skip.
oh, I
We'll do the motion, like, we'll give
Sorry.
James a little time. All right, the first new business item in front of us is an application from B&R Corporation. It's for property located at 1722 New Britain Avenue. And it's a application for site plan to install steel storage building. And who do we have?
We have the applicant and his engineer.
Okay, thank you. If you can come up, introduce yourself and give us your address, please.
Hi there, my name is Jared Braddock. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, B&R Corporation. B&R Corporation is from 216 Bogue Road in Harwinton, Connecticut. Do you need my personal address as well? Okay.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight to talk about 1722 New Britain Avenue in Farmington. The plan's up on the screen there. Currently, it's the 1.53 acre lot, has an existing 1,200 square foot plus or minus building that's on the property. It's been used as office space under previous approvals. The lot is located in a C1 zone and has approximately 105 feet of frontage on New Britain Avenue. So it's an existing lot, but not conforming to C1 frontage. The existing building is serviced by public water. Upon the purchase of the building, which we just purchased in the spring of this year, we did discover that the septic system that serviced the existing building required repair. We got a permit from the town and instead made a connection to the sewer lateral on the property. And the existing building is now connected to the sewer. The health department's also been notified. They're aware of that. So that work's been completed. There's no wetlands on the property and none of the work is done in the wetlands or upland review area. We are proposing to build a 4,420 square foot pre-engineered steel building on the property. The building will be used for storage of the owner's collectible vehicles and personal equipment. Only personal vehicles of the owner will be stored in this building. There's no intended commercial or use beyond that. So it will be for private use of the building. The existing building on the property, the old house there that was used as an office, will continue to be used as an office. The space will be used for the owner's property management business. There'll be one employee working in the building. And it's not going to be open to the public. It's just going to be for administrative, collecting, bills from properties that we own. If we have to schedule any maintenance to properties that we own, whatever, the office work is going to be done out of the building through one employee only. We also don't anticipate adding any additional employees in the future for any reason. The other thing that I want to bring to the attention of the council is that because of the 105 feet of frontage that's on the road, the lot is narrow. So as part of the application, we're asking for the landscape requirement of a 20-foot side yard buffer be reduced by 25% to 15 feet. It'll help with the way the building's designed so that we can load vehicles from the side. If you can see up on the building there, the primary part of the building is 40 feet wide. And we have the building set up so we can load garages on both sides of the building. So that way we can pull cars in from either side and be able to have them in there. The additional feet or space on the side for the side yard would really help with the use of the building, and that 40 feet of width that we have is kind of important for us to fit what we want to fit inside the building. So we received some notes last week from Shannon and the people in her department. After we reviewed the notes, we didn't find anything from the town to be objectionable. We thought that everything that the town suggested was very reasonable and things that should be added to the plan. And there's a couple suggestions that were made, which we appreciate, that were helpful. So thank you for that. We did submit this afternoon a revised plan, which I believe is what's up here now, which we addressed, I think, many of the items that Shannon's team pointed out. And anything that did not make it onto the plan today is just because we're a little bit short of time, but it's not because it's something that we're disputing or don't think should be on there. We just need a little additional time to be able to put those on the plan. In brief, there was a couple things that came up, and then we can go into this in further detail. One of the items that was brought up was, what we're doing for parking for the office space. There is an existing, and maybe you can scroll to show the house in the front there. As you can see, where you pull in the driveway, right where the arrow is pointing, there is an existing turnaround that's there that we're proposing to use as the parking area for the person that's going to be working in the office. It already exists in non-permeable space. We plan to leave that there. There were some questions about the photometrics that we submitted with the plan. Our plan is to add down lighting to act as security lighting to the new building only. We're not doing any changes to the outside of the existing building. The lighting will be activated by motion only. We'll be on a 10-minute timer. We did provide a cut sheet. There's a couple different ratings for the lights that were on there. We're going to use the 4,000 K lighting option for our lights. So we meet the requirements for lighting. But if you take a look at the cut sheets, and if you want to see them, I think Shannon should have those from before. But anyways, they're all down lighting. We're proposing to put one on either end, and I believe it was 2 on each of the long sides of the building. Like I said, it's just security lighting, down lighting. There was a question if for us to show when we resubmit the lighting plan that there would be 0 light going onto the neighbor's property. That's our intention, and that's what we plan to show. The fixtures that we selected are designed to do just that. So just a couple other notes. There was a question if we'd be doing any outdoor storage of vehicles or anything. No, the intention of this building is to take anything that's on the outside of the property and have it undercover. So anything that we have on the property will be inside the new building. So there's not going to be anything stored outside the building. The only thing you would see outside would be the vehicle for the employee working at the office. Otherwise, everything will be stored inside. There were also a couple questions as to what we submitted for the landscaping. The current plan, we tried to show everything that's there currently for what's growing in both in our property and the neighbor's property. We did plant some additional pine trees on the northern side of the property towards the front. Those are shown as the little stars on the plan that you see there. And on the southern side of the property, we planted a hedge of arborvitae trees as well. When I originally read the zoning and misunderstood, I did see that it required 2 trees per 50 feet. I just did the math, and we planted enough trees to make the 2 trees per 50 feet, but they are not spaced at the 50 foot. They're all kind of together. So every 50 feet, if we need to add 2 additional trees, we'll do that to make sure that we're in compliance with the zoning. That's something that was brought up and something, a change that we can make. And that's sort of the overview. I'll take any questions that you have. Brian's here with me from Robert Green Associates. Any specific details you have about the subsurface drainage we have for the roof collection, what we've done for improving, we have less non-permeable surface than what is already on the lot existing. So he can talk to that as well. And ideally what we're asking for tonight would be a conditional approval, if there's enough information here for you guys to do that, contingent on us providing the additional drawings requested by engineering and by the town so that they feel comfortable and you guys feel comfortable that we're building to zoning compliance. And I think that's everything. Brian, did you have anything you want to say before I?
Unless they've got comments, so.
Yeah, okay, so if there's any questions, we'll
Okay.
start there and kind of go
Thank-
from there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in. Shannon, can you put this on GIS for us?
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have to give me a minute. I did not get a chance to open.
It's
it
okay.
for the meeting.
All right, so it's a resident, it's a single family home, right, in the front? And then this proposed pre-engineered building would go in the back. I think you told us, Shannon, that the use of office was already granted.
Correct. So it has the appearance of a single family home, but it's been used in a somewhat hybrid manner.
Okay.
Over the last few years as an office / residence. and
Okay.
It is in the C1 zone.
Yep.
So this is the property. 1722 New Britain Avenue. I'll put the aerial on.
Thank you.
And the aerial dates to 2019.
Okay, so it's right next to that office part. Okay, yep,
Correct. It's immediately south. And then this, although relatively a single family home, the property to the south, 1730 is a contractor. I believe Rose Construction is there. And then McPhee.
yep, on the corner, sure. Okay,
The
Thank you.
Phoenix. Yep.
all right, let's turn it over to the commissioners. Mike, questions?
Yes. How many vehicles will be stored in the prefab building?
Approximately 14 to 20 vehicles,
How many of those are personal vehicles?
all of them.
They're all personal, and
So there's no business vehicles are gonna be parked there. They're private,
you know,
privately owned vehicles. So in addition to that, he does have a John Deere tractor that will be parked there. Owns it, needs a place to park it. He also has a residence in Farmington, so it's inappropriate to park at the house. And he has a couple implements that will also be inside for that tractor, so like a brush hog and some things like that. So
okay. You can come back, Mike.
Okay, sounds good. Patrick,
Just to touch on what he said, you had mentioned equipment. I'm assuming that's what you mean, right? When you said cars and equipment stored inside.
yeah, so just in the interest of full disclosure, he has a John Deere tractor that he's gonna store inside there. Yes.
And the brush hog, so that's.
Yeah, correct. And the implements for it. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's-
okay? Liz?
You talked about having door access on both sides. Does that mean there's gonna be pavement encircling this or?
So there's,
What's the driveway? I'm not quite sure from the,
sure. So we're showing a proposed driveway on 3 sides of the building. There is one additional garage door on the south side back of the building where that little L section is there. We're not proposing to have any non-permeable surface there. That'd be a place where we need to mow the backyard. We could drive the mower out and have a place to park it afterwards. So, but the vehicles are gonna be parked along the south side, the garage doors on the south side and north side of the building. And then there is a corner in the back there, would I guess would be the northwest corner. In that area of the building, we're gonna have a handicap accessible bathroom for the owner and a mechanical room for the heating system. And then we're gonna have a little kitchenette there where they can have a refrigerator in the sink to keep some lunch and things like that in. So like a break room, I'd call it.
I think I'm good for now.
Okay,
Something else
thank you.
might come up.
No problem. Matthew?
So you mentioned, or better yet, shows topsoil stockpile.
Mhm.
Is that gonna be the only location, or are you going to have more locations for the mulch and topsoil?
Oh, good question. So that topsoil stockpile that showed there would only be for anything that's stripped off the property during construction. And we talked to Shannon about this and their team about showing some erosion control around it. Now the modification will show that. The reality is that where that building sets and the most of that property, it was, I think when I did the math on it, it was something like 52 or 54% non-permeable surface that was there between gravel, old existing pavement and so on. That's coming out. Beneath that is mostly sand. So, even though we're showing a large topsoil pile, the reality is there's not too much topsoil on the property. And, as we talked about, at the end of the project, we will be, anywhere we're short in topsoil, importing some and growing grass, in any areas that aren't paved.
Okay, thank you.
And James.
Just a quick question to Shannon. I know that you noted in the agenda review that there's a number of engineering and planning comments. Is there a copy of that available, or was that recent?
No, there is. So that went, I think that was posted online on Friday
Okay,
with
I
all
was
the
just looking for
documents.
it.
And then the applicant responded and provided I'll say an abridged version of a response to comments that came in at the end of the day today. And that's what's up on the
Okay,
screen. So it did, actually it went out November 1st. Sorry. This one went out November 1st. Garrett sent it out.
were those comments deemed to be satisfactory to engineering?
So the comments are include all of staff comments, engineering and planning. The responses just came back in, like I said,
Okay.
4:30-ish today.
Okay.
I have not had an opportunity to read through all of them. Perhaps some of the more critical ones that we would have had would have been related to the drainage. So
Right.
perhaps Brian can speak to those if you want. We can get to that.
That's fine. Okay, I'll move aside. Thanks, Brian.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Brian Cunningham. I'm here tonight representing Robert Green Associates, engineers and surveyors out of Terryville, Connecticut. Regarding the drainage related comments that had come in, there were some questioning the capacity of the underground storage system. And I did a quick review of that and I found, well, what will happen was the initial calculation, I didn't account for the edge of the roof over the side of the building. So it added an extra, in the original proposal was 2 feet, but because that would make a zoning problem, I spoke to Jared this afternoon and said you can have 1.5 feet overhang and still be in compliance with zoning for the side yard setbacks on the building. So in doing that, I reassessed the size of the underground systems. The system on the north side of the building had to be expanded from a 2-chamber, these are underground plastic chambers, from a 2-chamber system to a 3. The size of the system on the south side of the building was unchanged. It was a little bit over designed the way I was rounding numbers and all that. So we've shown on these updated plans, the 3 underground chambers on each side of the building to address the roof runoff from that. We did do a test pit. We dug down 7 or 8 feet. It's all nice sandy gravel there. This type of material perks way faster than the state allows us to use for calculating capacity for underground detention systems. So that's all good. I did do a calculation of the existing conditions, the impervious surfaces, and I compared it with the proposed condition of impervious surfaces, and there's a reduction in impervious surfaces as part of this proposal that you see before you. So Without getting into a big and long thing, it's a better runoff situation. One of the comments isn't directly related to drainage, but it was from the town regarding grading. We did make an adjustment. We raised the finished floor a foot over the initial submission. And that gets the building a little bit higher, makes it easier to grade off to the sides. We envision sheet flow off the driveway and controlling that sheet flow and some swales along the side and let that storm water percolate down into the ground. The site is so flat. We could hardly show a contour or two on the whole property. It was a challenge in that regard. And that was, I believe that was all the comments really related to the stormwater controls and grading for the proposed project.
Madam Chair, may I ask a follow-up question?
Yes,
When were the test pits completed and to what depth? Do you have that information roughly?
It was done about 2 weeks ago. And it was 7 to 8 feet. I don't recall the exact depth. But we do have a profile, and I thought I included something. If I didn't, we'll provide it. If you could zoom in to the left, my left of the, test hole data. Oops, go the other way. Toward the back of the property, just slide it. I never know there you go. There's the test pit results right there. If you
Okay.
could zoom in on that. We went down 100 inches. So,
Okay, and that was done mid-October?
yes,
No groundwater?
no. No, no signs of any groundwater in the past. Mottling, there's nothing. It's all good.
you're all set, Shannon?
I am with that. I've got one other that's related to landscaping, but I'm all set with the stormwater.
I'm just thinking about, do we need time to review the responses? If they just came in this afternoon and maybe we wait and vote on this on December 11th? I don't know how the commissioner feels like.
Well, it's the commission's choice. So staff. Mr. Burdock, you indicated that you're agreeable to all the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. I think do you need to come back up?
Yes.
Please. Yeah, because it's being recorded, please. Thank you.
Yeah, there was nothing on there that was unreasonable in any way. And the only thing I think that I really need a point of clarification so we're on the same page is exactly what you guys would like us to provide for the landscaping, which we'll do. So we're in compliance for that. But I think otherwise, yeah, there was nothing on there that caught my eye as unreasonable in any way.
And then it'd be a 15-foot width, but really the 15-foot width is limited to where the two driveways are. So it could be the 20-foot width for the landscaping in this area, but again, it's one tree per every 50 feet.
Right.
The rest would be lawn. The 15-foot width, I can't read this, Brian. What's the is it 15.3? I can't read. It's got number on top of number and
Oh,
letters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
15
it's 15.3 feet from the
There.
north property line to the pavement.
and 15.3 on the south.
Correct.
And then this area to the west,
Grass.
this is all gonna be revegetated and lawn.
That's correct.
If they're agreeable to address the comments as presented and the commission is satisfied with having them as a condition of approval, then
Okay.
I don't see any need for anything further. Obviously, if any of you have further questions.
Right. Mike, you would
Yeah.
feel comfortable with those conditions?
Yeah, I do have some questions.
Go ahead.
Maybe just to help explain this to me. So it's personal vehicle storage for up to 20 vehicles.
Correct,
The house is going to be office space with one full-time employee.
correct.
Why is there a break room in the prefab building? Who's the break room for?
The owner.
Okay.
So I don't know what else to call it. There's gonna be a
Okay.
kitchenette in there,
Yeah.
so, you know, the building's 100 feet long.
Yeah.
He's in there, where,
Okay.
with his cars or doing whatever he's using the building for. If he wants to have a sandwich or whatever, he's got a fridge to keep it in, a place to wash his hands, and that's
Okay.
really all it's gonna be,
Okay.
and a bathroom.
So is there going to be work being done on the vehicles in here?
No, not outside, maybe adding air to the tires or something like that, but any work that needs to be done, like people get hired for that and the vehicles
Okay.
go out and get serviced.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I have no problem, with this type of building in this area certainly, but I
Right.
just wanted some clarification on what the use
sure,
was.
yeah. And we're not gonna do any service to vehicles there.
Only storage? Okay. You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Are you comfortable if we condition it with engineering comments?
Yeah.
Okay. How about this side? Any questions for the applicant?
No, nothing further.
What about impervious surfaces?
Sounds like we're ready to vote and everyone knows what we're voting on. We need a motion and a second, please.
I failed the first one.
Yeah, you got the next one.
I got the next one down.
All right, so what's the condition? Condition,
Engineering.
yeah, just to satisfy the engineering comments.
Mm.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application by B&R Corporation for site plan approval for 1722 New Britain Avenue to install a steel storage building with the,
As presented.
as presented, does that work? Shannon,
With, uh,
as presented, yeah.
with engineering,
Yes.
Condition-
fine,
yeah.
as presented. He's already consented to the engineering comment.
all right, second,
Second.
all right, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed, okay, it's unanimous, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So on to our second new business item. This evening, we will be accepting an application. And we need a motion and a second for Brian Burbank, please, James.
All right, let's try this again. I'd like to make a motion to accept the application from Brian Burbank for a special permit for construction of accessory structure, a detached garage in excess of 700 square feet located at 10 Glen Hollow Drive, R20 zone, and schedule a public hearing with a recommended hearing date of December 11th, 2023.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's accepted. Thank you. All right, everyone, we're moving on to public hearing portion of our meeting. This is where the applicants have a chance to present their application. We, as commissioners, get to ask questions and then turn it over to you, both here and online. And we'll see how it all shakes out. The first application is from Dunning Industries, Inc. It's an application for special permit and site plan approval for a nursery and garden center at 1079, 1085, 1091 Farmington Avenue, BR, R30, and FP zones. And who do we have?
We have the applicant and their, yes, they're the
Okay.
applicant, not their engineer.
Sounds good.
Multiple versions of the applicant.
All right.
Good evening. I'm Benjamin Dunning, President of Dunning Industries. This is Neil Lajeunesse, VP. Unfortunately, Bill, our engineer, was unable to be with us this evening, so we'll try and hopefully answer all the questions that you have. The application, what we were proposing to do is a retail nursery and garden center that's going to be catering to both retail and contractors. There are essentially it was three separate properties. We're gonna join the three properties together into one entity. And different uses for each of the buildings. The 1079 Farmington Avenue will eventually, we believe, become a cafe for people too, but that'll be a separate, application,
Okay.
but
All right.
just saying for the overall use of plan. the middle building, 1085 Primeton Avenue's, primary use is going to be the retail garden center. And then 1091 Farmington Avenue is going to be our contractor offices for, the contractors and wholesale, nursery. We are, I don't know if you want to pull up a little closer in on the,
Into which part of the plan?
the retail area or whatnot.
So
um,
1085?
Yes, 1085.
Now for orientation, this was
Yes.
the dog store, right? Or,
This was Green Tails Market, correct?
okay, thank you. All
Yep.
right. Sorry, that's,
No problem.
thank you.
So as you can see, we have, we're proposing one entrance between the two. Right now, it's in and out between the two buildings. We're proposing that to be one entrance going in with angular parking, and then the exiting out between 1085 and
97.
97 Troy's. So that the traffic flow goes in one direction. There will be contractors that will come in on that same exit area. And deliveries were coming in there, but all the retail traffic will come between the two buildings.
Okay.
There's going to be two primary areas for plant sales. Well, actually three. But two primary ones, one directly behind the building of 1079 and the other one on the other side of the parking to the south. Oh, the parking, keep going down. Yeah, down there. So that's all going to be basically a stone dust area with tables set up and irrigation for, displaying and showing the plants. There's going to be several kiosks or small outbuildings for being able to we can ring customers up inside the building, but also have two essentially sheds with little registers in them so we can make it easier for people to bring their wagons over and ring out right there and then go straight to their cars. Inside the retail building will be, smaller, pretty things.
General garden accessories.
Yes, yeah. Let's see, what do you want to add?
From there, we're gonna have the contractor building, which will be at 1091. As an area for consulting, office space for employees. There'll be a break room over there. And then an area for loading contractor vehicles such as trucks with trailers and whatnot, taking larger plant stock or trees or things like that that need to be loaded and then sent out. And as far as the initial use for 1079, it will be for storage and office use for now. We were given some comments from planning and zoning, one of which was to address adding some signage about the one-way going in to make it clear that that's only in access, and we're happy to oblige that. That's not an issue for us. And clearly delineating that everybody needs to go out between 1085 and 1097. We proposed a hoop house structure, which is a seasonal structure, only to be used during the growing season to house greenhouse plants and whatnot. Any of the fertilizers or things of that nature will be kept on 1091's property, which is outside the 100-year flood zone. Per regulations, and will be kept locked and separated away from other products.
Yeah, sorry, we got these notes about 40 minutes before getting here, so I apologize for not being.
Are you going through the engineering comments?
Yeah.
Is that what's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah,
Yeah, there was ones that were highlighted for us to.
there's nothing that we've saw in the engineering comments that anything that we would be opposed to working around. Or anything that we saw as being potentially detrimental to the plan that we have in place. More things that just needed to be,
Clarification.
yeah, clarified in our plans, which we're happy to do. And a few things that were depicted in areas that were less desirable, which we're happy to move out of the 100-year and into the 500-year zone, which we have all at 1091.
It's only feasible. Yeah.
The other question was the stone dust loading area. And what its kind of usage is, which would be for loading our contractors, for unloading our plant stock and having ability to stockpile stuff as we're moving it to where it needs to eventually end up. As you may or may not know, plants in 5, 10, 15 gallon buckets can stack up fast across an area when you've got a 3 foot, 4 foot wide canopy on each one. So that was all that we were trying to depict in that area. As far as the space that we need for loading, unloading, and making sure that we're not running into each other. One of the things they asked is if we could move the water basin closer to the developed area and further away from the residential
To
zone.
look at that.
We're happy to look at that. I don't see it being an issue bringing it back towards the area. The reason that we placed it so far down to begin with is on phase 2 of this, we were looking to develop a growing area out back, which would require an irrigation pond.
Then
And
that-
if
that-
the drainage is already coming into our irrigation settling pond, it kind of keeps it all as a confined unit on the property. But we have no issue moving it closer if that works out better for everybody.
There was a note about the exit possibility of going out on Melrose too, which is something we're happy to work with the town on if that's what, Bruce kind of leaned that he'd rather see that, so.
Yeah, that was mentioned both in our initial plan and also in the traffic statement that we had done, that it might be safer to go back out that way. And we were looking as that being part of phase 2 also. And as the expansion of the area comes in, making a safer exit for everybody out through the right of way to connect to Melrose. And we will be performing a full traffic study for that. I guess we'll open it up to questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners, Mike.
Shannon, can you pull up on GIS where this comes out on Melrose?
Absolutely. Here is 1079, 1085 comes all the way down to the excavation ponds and then to the river.
Oh, wow.
1091, and then there's a spur. Melrose currently ends in a cul-de-sac. There's a right-of-way extension that is contiguous to the 1085 property.
Okay.
Is that helpful? Or do you need more?
No, I don't really have any other questions. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Mike. Patrick,
No, none at this moment. I'm just-
okay, Liz,
Yeah, and this could have been my inability to read the mapping, but are you gonna have bulk mulch and topsoil in
No,
those?
no.
You're
No, that's
not.
only at our facility on Brickyard. This is strictly plants and other retail things pertaining to, just nursery.
Yeah.
Nursery garden center, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, one of the other comments that was on here was what we're gonna be doing with dead plants and stock that's coming out. What anything that cannot be contained down there will be brought back to Dunning Industries at 105 Brickyard Road, and we will take care of the composting and all that there.
Okay, and when you were discussing the stone dust area, that was your unloading pad?
Correct.
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 That's
Yeah,
what
there
I
are,
thought.
there
I
are
just
a
wondered.
couple of bins depicted there, and that's for the temporary storage of dead plant material.
Okay.
Well, the bin fills up and then we bring a truck down, load it up and haul it to, because we're permitted for recycling on Brickyard, so we bring it there to recycle.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
Mr.
Okay.
Dunning, that's these bins here. That's the intent of these bins at the.
Yes, yeah, those
Correct.
bins are for either bedding material for the, like, the plants. Sometimes we have to put mulch and whatnot around the trees for bedding them in. And then any waste products to go back out, if that's all that's for,
Thank you.
all for internal use.
Okay. Matthew?
What are the hours of operation?
So the contractor is planned to be 7 to 3 Monday through Friday. The retail part is gonna be 9 to 5. I think it was in our notes too. What's that?
7 to 4 during summer months for the same hours as.
Oh, okay, all right. And then 9 to 5. Well, we had it down Monday through Sunday for the retail side, but it's only seasonal.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. James?
That's kind of on along the same lines as Mike's question, with the Melrose Drive, optional exit or talk, or I guess you guys have initial plans
Mhm.
to not eventually connect.
The idea was initially to go with it. When we went to do the permit, we decided to stick just in the BR zones for now. Being that that goes down into the EE zone
Well, no, it goes to the R30 zone.
or R30 zone.
So we were trying to not complicate, two different.
Compiling two
zones.
permits
Yeah,
when we just were going for the initial for the nursery side of things.
right.
Because I think we need a special permit for zone change or at the very least, special permit for nursery use for that area,
So you have,
Agricultural use.
agricultural,
I
sorry.
think it's going south, what is that, southeast, on Route 4 on Farmington Avenue. You have the entrance kind of after the exit, right? If you're traveling southeast. The exit. is
Correct.
first
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the right-hand
yeah.
Side and then the
Correct.
entrance.
Yep.
That's all I had. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Is there anything changing on Brickyard facility?
No,
Okay, so that's,
well, we currently have some of the nursery there and that's what we're trying to move it down there. So that,
There will no
That
longer be
part's-
nursery part at Brickyard Road.
Right.
okay, so it's all moving here?
Yes.
Okay. I was looking at the numbers or the deliveries, the way I'm looking at it, and I have been at the property, the dog store, right? I apologize, Green Tails. It seems to me that the traffic is increasing dramatically. I think you mentioned like 30 to 50 a day. I'm just wondering how you're determining
well, I'm
everything,
Kind of
like the
going by
delivery
our-
schedule.
our volume of sales now and we're anticipating, growth, but not, I mean, the traffic study, actually, we had gotten a traffic statement. It was considerably higher, which I didn't, it'd be great if we hit those numbers, but I didn't think that they were feasible. But at the same time, even with his statement, it said that they weren't wouldn't have a big impact based on his numbers. And I thought those numbers were way higher than I thought we were gonna hit.
We all travel on Route 4, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty much impossible. I know I'm, it's not a technical term, but taking left out of this place,
Right.
okay?
Well, that's why we like the Melrose idea.
Yeah, I think that has to be the exit.
Yeah.
For
We
safety.
prefer
and-
it too, so.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that would be, you would exit people that way?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
The delivery schedule, so is this the delivery schedule you have on Brickyard and you're just gonna?
Yeah, it's just
replicate?
being moved. I mean, the paver side is still gonna be occurring at Brickyard.
Okay,
But any of the plant deliveries, then will be going there instead. A lot of the plant deliveries though come in either early in the morning and it's mostly in springtime and then it kind of tapers off when we don't have a lot coming in, summer and definitely in the fall, we don't have much at all, so.
I think it said like 1 to 2 a day, in
Correct.
spring, and then 1 to 2 a week.
Yeah.
Night before, okay,
Yeah, usually they'll come in night before because they're coming either from the south or from cross country and there's enough space there where they can pull in to that entrance
yep,
and stay overnight and be out of the way of traffic.
got it. What happened to the businesses? Are they both gone or?
They moved. I didn't renew their leases because we had anticipation of doing this. Greentails actually just moved about 4 buildings down to the old Claudia's.
Okay, yeah,
So, and actually with this, she ended up getting the opportunity to open up the second store in West Hartford. So it actually ended
Right.
up working out very well for her. Walpole, apparently their corporate was thinking of downsizing that location. They actually did it through several locations and they moved them to Cheshire or Glastonbury, I think.
Okay.
But they're only doing installations. They don't have a retail location anymore.
got it. It's been a fixture, right, in our town for a long
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, okay, all right, so thank you. I think that's it for questions. Do you guys have any questions before we turn it to the public? I know the engineering comments are pretty extensive. So I don't know if it makes sense to go through them, but let's turn it over to the public to see if there are any questions. Thank you.
Yep.
Very much. Is there anyone in here that wishes to speak regarding this application, has questions? Has any concerns? Come on up to the podium, please. All right, how about Shannon online?
Okay, if anyone is called in online regarding the Dunning Industries application for special permit and site plan for nursery at 1079, 1085, and 1091 Farmington Avenue, please raise your hand. Using the feature in Zoom, you'll be acknowledged to address the commission. Again, if anyone is called in on Zoom to offer comment regarding the Dunning Industries application for special permit for nursery and garden center use at the properties on Farmington Avenue, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom. Madam Chair, there are no hands raised.
All right, anyone in the room? We're good? Okay. All right, commissioners. We just received the engineering comments. I mean, we are dealing with pretty special parcel in our town, as it goes all the way to the river, right? We heard from the applicant. I'm very happy to hear that exit is gonna happen on Melrose, where there's a sign. At Farmington Ave. Are we comfortable? Do we want the town to review with the applicant, the engineering comments? What do we want to do?
We could just make it a condition of approval that they work together.
You're comfortable with everything you heard? Okay, how about you, Patrick?
I can go both ways, to be honest.
And no, anything on lighting? Did that come back or is there change or?
The
Outside.
applicant could comment on lighting. I don't believe we had any information on lighting. It was part of the planner's
Sorry,
report.
thank you. Yep, I apologize.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, as far as lighting, the front lights, I think the lighting is, yeah, it's pretty, similar to what's already on that building. We may add a
The
light in the back.
Buildings, you mean?
What's that?
The lighting, excuse me.
Yeah, the lighting on the front of those buildings really isn't changing at all.
Okay,
We will probably add something in the back just for security or whatnot that's facing behind. There's no properties back there. And depending on hours or whatnot, maybe have some lights, but any lighting we will obviously get approvals for. But we don't have anything established right now for any additional lighting yet.
how about, thank you.
Yeah.
Questions for the applicant? What do you guys think? Are you comfortable voting on it today? I don't feel like we need to rush. It's a little bit disjointed for me, but if everyone is comfortable.
I agree with you. I think this is a pretty dense. There's a lot. I think haste makes waste, to use an old one, but I think maybe if we take a little bit longer for this one, that's my feeling.
I think that's fair.
Okay,
I agree.
so keep it open till next time.
I'm good with that.
James, you're
Yep.
good with that? Mike, would you be okay with that or no? Doesn't
I don't know, what are we waiting for? I guess,
the town to?
Yeah.
right? Reviewed this, if there are any,
So the
Yeah.
town
Except-
issued it.
I mean,
and
Right.
They, so the town issued it, so there's, if the applicant is.
That's-
And they-
Has the applicant's engineer reviewed these?
I don't know if they had enough time,
The app,
right?
there's, right.
I think we should.
Yeah, I mean,
But we're happy to work with.
Yeah.
any of
Like I said, we read through them, we have no objection, saying.
I don't have any issue with proceeding forward. The town issued it and I just treat this like any other application. Yeah, they got it last minute, but if they're comfortable with them.
What happens if we run into an issue, Shannon? It comes back?
Absolutely. So if
Okay.
there, we can't come to an agreement with respect to the resolution, then it comes back to the commission. Which it would anyway, right?
Okay.
We've had that with hearing meetings that have gone on for a number of hearings, and then there was an issue regarding the resolution and intent. In this particular case, we brought it back to wetlands.
Yeah.
And so absolutely, it comes back to you if there's not a resolution.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm fine with the condition.
okay. And this is nursery and garden center only. We're not looking at the future of where this is happening. Okay, so we need a motion and a second. Actually, I should be closing the public hearing then, right?
Yes.
Because there are no questions. Nobody online?
No, no one raised any
Okay.
hands online.
Anyone in the room? We're good? Okay, so at this point, we are, and commissioners, you have enough information, right?
Yeah.
Checking all the boxes. At this point, the public hearing portion of this application is closed. Thank you, and we need a motion and a second, please.
Make a motion to accept the application from Dunning Industries for a special permit and site plan approval for nursery and garden center at 1079, 1085, 1091 Farmington Avenue, BR R30 and FP zones
Okay, in a second?
with
Oh, go ahead. Us-
Yeah.
Engine-
engineering comments and acceptance by town staff.
And second, thank you.
Second.
All right, discussion,
Because
same, as long as we have
Yeah.
the conditions, we're
as
good,
long as the
same.
conditions are-
Yeah.
As long as the conditions are dealt with and to everyone's satisfaction.
Melrose exit, that's.
And Melrose exit, yep, which they agreed to. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you are all set. You'll be hearing from town staff. Thank you. All right. Next item is an application from Metro Realty Management Corporation. It's an application for amendment to the regulations to add the new Britain Avenue Opportunity Zone. Change of zone
Is it, it's the
from
same that you
C1
sent.
to NBAO zone and site plan approval for 91 residential rental units pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 8-30G at lot 8562 New Britain Avenue,
Thank you.
north of 1690 New Britain Avenue. Thank you.
Andy, you got it.
Oh, you have a present for us. Thank you. All right,
Thank you.
And it's big.
Received
It
a
is big.
gift.
all right, Kyle, thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I'm Attorney Tim Hollister. It's my privilege tonight to represent Metro Realty Management Corporation. Personal point of pride is this is my 30th year representing the company, and believe me, we have been everywhere during
Congratulations.
that 30 years. And with me, Jeff Sager and Kyle Richards from Metro. Tom Daly from SLR Consulting is our consulting engineer, and Mark Bertucci from Fussin O'Neill is our traffic engineer, and he's accompanied by his colleague, Gina DePasquale. I want to thank Ms. Rutherford and Mr. Sear, Mr. Daigle, and Mr. Arnold for their help. Another necessary note is I'm informed that several of you will be moving on after tomorrow's election. And of course, we thank you all for your public service
Thank you.
and the exorbitant salary that you've earned over the years.
Yes, yes. We have one more meeting, December 11th.
That's right. Shannon, if we could go to slide number 2. This application has 3 parts: a zoning regulation text amendment to create a zone called New Britain Avenue Opportunity Zone to rezone the property to that new zone and site plan approval for development of multifamily residential community, 91 rental apartments. The application consists of the October 4 narrative package. We also prepared, as we do in the past in 830G applications, a updated package that addresses aspects of affordable housing needs in Farmington, the region, and the state, and to some degree nationwide. Civil and architectural plans, which were revised by Mr. Daly to November 1st. And then the regulation, the final version that you're dealing with, says at the top, November 23 submission draft, and that has been a very good iterative process with staff to get to the final draft that's before you tonight. As noted, this is under 830G, and we did that really for two reasons. One is to make sure that this gets classified as what is called assisted housing, meaning there's state funding involved, which Mr. Richards will explain, and that will mean that the town will get credit on the state's 10% list for all 91 units, even the market rate ones. And then there's also various procedural protections that come with that status also. Procedural compliance notices were published, the sign was posted, compliance provided to the town staff, and the regulation amendment and the rezone map were recorded in the town clerk's office more than 10 days ago as required. I think you understand that the process that led up to today was the October 11th approval of the lot line revision, which moved the southern boundary of this parcel approximately 2 acres worth, and Metro is in the process of transferring that acreage to its neighbor to the south. So what we are left with is a 9 acres as revised, and I think the key point that we wish to make tonight is that we believe this is an appropriate location for multifamily residential development. Located near Route 6 and Interstate 84, water and sewer available, abutting the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, which is a very significant amenity, perhaps even an amenity that's sort of wasted on an industrial zone, but would be utilized, we think, quite robustly with what's proposed here. Not insubstantially abutted east and west by very large tracts of state-owned open space. The neighboring uses, north and south, are all commercial or light industrial, and we have, I believe, unanimous support for the application from those nearby businesses, probably because they foresee these units as so-called live-work units. The proposed regulation amendment, I'm not going to go through it. I will just say that, as I said, we did work on it cooperatively with staff. If it looks very similar to the regulation you approved last year for South Street, that's because it is. It was modeled directly upon that regulation. And otherwise, I can certainly go through any of the details, but it has a purpose section, a definition of which parcels are eligible, list of permitted uses, dimensional standards, parking, signage, landscaping and buffers, lighting, utilities, stormwater, erosion control, excavation and filling, and then the income and rent restrictions that will govern affordability. So again, I can go into any of those details, but those are the topics that are, as you would expect, covered in the draft regulation. So what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Kyle Richards from Metro, who will explain the residential program, and he'll be followed by Mr. Daly and Mr. Vertucci. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, fellow commissioners. Kyle Richards from the Metro Realty Group. Appreciate the opportunity to present this application for you tonight for what we feel is a very important proposal of mixed income housing within the town. Before I start, echo Tim's sentiments for staff, Shannon, Bruce, Garrett, Sandy. You know, I'd like to say they've grown accustomed to sometimes the speed we like to do things, but you know, it doesn't change the fact that there was a lot of behind the scenes work that went into this to get it ready for your consideration. So this one was no different. And again, thank you to staff. If you could go to the next slide, please, Shannon. Yep, there we go. So we feel strongly that providing housing for people and families of all incomes is critical to a dynamic and diverse town. But for the people, for the families, a move to a high opportunity town like Farmington can truly be life-changing. Our firm, led by Jeff Sager, has had the privilege over 25 years to have developed 4 other income restricted communities within the town that we continue to own and operate. The first is Heritage Glen, 1994, 68 apartments, located on Route 6, just west of Finneman Road. Next slide, please, Shannon. This is Westwoods, 1996, 34 apartments, also Route 6, just west of 177. Next slide, please. The Village at Hunter's Ridge, 1999. This was 51 apartments off of Railroad Avenue in Unionville. Next slide, please. And the Village at Yorkshire, 2007, 91 apartments located at the intersection of Munson and Middle Roads out the rear of the Yukon Health Center. Next slide, please. So the subject parcel that you're looking at on your screen is shown in red. It's 9.09 acres and is currently known as 8562 New Britain Avenue. The proposed new address for the community is 1600 New Britain Avenue, as it properly sequences the addresses with the abutting properties. Parcel is located on the west side of New Britain Avenue, just north of Route 6, in what's known as the Southwest neighborhood, according to your plan of conservation and development. To the north and south, shown in green on your screen, are properties zoned C1. And as Tim mentioned, to both the east and the west of the subject site, there are large swaths of land owned by the state of Connecticut, almost 500 acres. Next slide, please, Shannon. So it's our professional opinion that this is an ideal site for mixed income rental housing. You know, aside from the broad reasons about Farmington and its desirability, the quality of life, low crime, top-notch school district, this specific parcel, again shown on red on your screen, is located to the north of the most or second behind the Yukon Health Center district, most important employment hubs in the town. It's quite an impressive list of companies, as you can see on your screens. You've got Stanley Access, Connecticut, Mott Corporation, EBM. You have Trump on the heels of the recent announcement of $1 billion in North American sales. You know, and I chuckle because our company logo is also on there in the midst of all those behemoths. I just realized that. But Farmington has had the good fortune of attracting and retaining world-class companies. And it's our position that if we want to continue to allow these companies to grow and remain, we can't rest on our laurels. It's imperative that we provide these corporations with modern and affordable rental housing within proximity. As part of your record, there are 2 letters of support from neighboring users to the parcel that I'd like to point out. FIP Corporation, which is our direct abutter to the north, and McPhee Electric, which is located, as Shannon's showing you there, at the intersection of Route 6 and New Britain Avenue. Both cited that modern housing will support their recruitment efforts and the town's commercial base that they've been a part of for several decades. As Tim mentioned, on the recreation front, a feature that I'm particularly excited about. You'll see the blue dotted line is the Farmington Valley Heritage Trail. It runs directly west of the subject site. We're proposing a direct connection from the trail to our site for future residents. Next slide, please, Shannon. Yeah. So our office is right around the corner, and this stretch of the trail is one of the most active portions. You can't go past it near our office without seeing someone riding a bike, rollerblading, walking dogs. This is of course, the bridge that crosses Route 6 just south of the subject site. Next slide, please. Okay, on to the proposed community. So we're proposing 91 apartments on a 9.09 acre site. It will contain 33 one-bedroom flats and 58 two-bedroom townhouses. There are 166 proposed parking spaces, which equates to 1.82 spaces per apartment. And we like to describe this as home style living. It's an apartment, but it feels like a home. There are direct entrances for every apartment, 2-story colonial architecture, private outdoor space for every apartment. And as we'll get into more detail shortly, very high-end apartment finishes. Next slide, please, Shannon. The site plan contains 12 buildings, again, on a 9-acre site. No building has more than 8 apartments, and residents enter the site kind of at the central portion. You can see right about the middle part of the site, and it's designed with a large central courtyard, kind of to be the first thing you see as you enter the site. The northern and southern boundaries have planted buffers with primarily Norway and blue spruce evergreen specimens. And Tom Daly is here, professional engineer from SLR. He'll get more deeply into the technical components of the site plan. Next slide, please, Shannon.
Okay, sound's not working, sorry about that.
So the proposed architecture is some that I'm sure you're familiar with. Our inspiration is from Heritage Glen, which is the photo that you're looking at. Hard to believe it's almost 30 years old. That was a recent photo. We believe that this project has stood the test of time, and we've created nearly identical elevations for this community as heritage, but with larger and much improved interior apartment interiors. Next slide, please, Shannon. So that's another shot of heritage. Again, colonial design elements, 2 stories, direct entrances for every apartment, gabled roofs, lap siding, shutters and window pediments. Instead of white, we've elected to go with the sterling gray and black shutters. The property will have a club room with TVs and working pods located on a ground floor of one of the centrally located buildings in the center courtyard. Next slide, please, Shannon. So as it relates to sustainability and energy efficiency, this project will target compliance with the following programs. So the DOE Zero Energy Ready Home Certification. So that's the Department of Energy's program to recognize exceptional levels of energy savings. That's one. HERS 42, which is the Home Energy Rating System, which measures the home's energy efficiency, targeting a score of 42. That's what the 42 represents. And we're also targeting a LEED Gold certification. So what that means from a conservation perspective is that the project will include balanced ventilation. What that means is there's an equal amount of air, fresh air intake coming into the apartment as is exiting. And what that does is it keeps fresh air, removes pollutants from the air as well. High energy efficient heating, cooling, and hot water systems. And additionally, we're laser focused on the building envelope. So this is the exterior wall construction, the windows and doors detail. The whole target is to reduce thermal gapping where the windows meet the facade, so we can produce a high level of insulative value. Next slide, please, Shannon. Okay, on to the apartment interiors, where we've spent a tremendous amount of work over a couple decades of improvement. As mentioned, the apartment interiors have increased in size and design significantly since Heritage Glen. It's also worth noting that we construct our mixed income apartments with the exact same interior high-end finishes as the market rate luxury product. They're identical in terms of finish and quality. So what you're looking at on your screen is the floor plan for the 1-bedroom flat. It's a 900 plus square foot apartment, again with an open floor plan. You can see on the kind of on the lower part of the floor plan, living room leading into a kitchen, center wet island, and a large 17 by 11 bedroom with a walk-in closet. A really terrific apartment, a single bedroom apartment. Every 1 bedroom has a washer and dryer. Every 1 bedroom has a patio, a private patio or deck. And again, the same high-end finishes that you would see in a luxury rental community. Next slide, please, Shannon. So this is a floor plan for a 2-bedroom townhouse. So every one of the 58 2-bedrooms are townhouse style, meaning there's a lower level first floor on the left. Again, a large open living room to dining to kitchen floor plan, center island, center wet island. There's you can't see it, you'll see it on a subsequent photo, but a slider that leads out to a private patio space. And that's the first floor. The second floor has 2 bedrooms, walk-in closets for both bedrooms, a washer and dryer on the second floor, and a full bath. I forgot to mention that on the first floor, there's also a half bath. So 1.5 bath townhouse. Again, with direct entrance. Next slide, please. So here are some photos of an identical income restricted community that we constructed in South Windsor. So these are identical to what we're proposing in at the subject site in terms of design, size, and function. That's a shot of a direct entrance, to the extent I haven't said that already. Shot of a kitchen, again, a wet island, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, plank flooring throughout every apartment. Next slide, please, Shannon. This is a good shot. So this is in the 2-bedroom townhouse near the front entrance, looking over the living room into the dining area at the kitchen. On the left, to the left of the dining room table, is where those sliding doors exist that go out to the patio. I've always really liked this shot, but it gives you a sense of how livable that first floor is in the townhouse. Next slide, please. This is a bedroom shot, emphasis on the walk-in closet. Next slide, please. Washer and dryers in every unit. Every 2-bedroom, every 1-bedroom has a washer and dryer. And then lastly, this is a shot of a bathroom with high-end finishes, tile floors, quartz countertops. Next slide, please. Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask Tom Daly to come up. Tom's a professional engineer from SLR. He will get into more of the technical aspects of the proposal.
Thank you.
Yes, for the record, Tom Daly with SLR. We served as the designer on the project, or site designer. The slide before you is an aerial photograph with an overlay of the topographic survey. And frankly, probably one of the flattest sites I've ever been with this commission. There is some elevation change to it. The New Britain Ave is the lowest portion of the site. It's about elevation 235, and it rises up just slightly towards the trail to 235. So over a 9-acre site, you're only looking at 7 feet of grade change. And most of that, it actually just occurs in the back corner. It's as Kyle said, it's triangular in shape. On this map, you have north pointing to the right. So at the top of the map, you have the trail. And on the lower end of the map, you have New Britain Ave. The site does not have any wetlands on site, does not have any floodplain on site. I don't believe it actually even has any steep slopes. So from a designer, it was really a really good palette for us to design. We also have very good sandy soils out there. We did soil testing. Initially was associated with the application I was before you last month, but we have great soils on site. So part of when I get into design, we really took advantage of those soils to far exceed the stormwater quality standards that's in your MS4. Site is mostly meadow if you drive, and most of it. So there's some sparse trees that are along New Britain Ave, that section there. Some trees in the center, and then there's some more scrubby and some vegetation towards the trail. But the vast majority of meadow. But there is some mature trees along the front edge, and we took consideration of that. There is public water in the road. Sanitary sewer is just off plan left there. We will be extending that up to the property. And that was we'll get into engineering comments, but that was I spoke to Bruce Sear on Friday before he issued his comments. That was one comment we did talked about. Initially, we have sewer just kind of coming to the site. There is a desire by the town that this sewer they were surprised they could actually extend it farther up the road. So we're going to commit to taking sewer all the way up to our center driveway. And that allows those properties to north to gain that access later on. We have other utilities are right at our front door. The sewer is just off. I think it's only off a few hundred feet. So it's not terribly difficult to get to. Next slide, Shannon. Both Kyle and Tim have done a nice job in terms of giving you an overall layout of the plan. But as we took a first look at this, frankly, it's a nicely shaped piece, triangular in shape. What we did was we took a look at the layout and the architecture, and we kind of started to talk about this loop road. And the loop road does a few things. One, we have a center point of access into the property. It will be a boulevard drive with a nice center island. But when you come into there, then you'll have an opportunity to really disperse the traffic. And the other part of the layout of this plan is the parking is very well distributed. You're not seeing a large parking lot where centrally located, where people kind of going with Kyle's approach of this direct access, people will also have parking really right at their front door. If anything, it's a little heavily weighted towards the north and the south of the loop, but that's where the units are. But in terms of that, so when you walk in, we made a point of not putting parking right at that front door. It'll be a green space and looking into that central green. That central green, just the green space between the 3 buildings is about 1.3 acres of open space. That's just with the sidewalk system. Then once you throw the green space around the buildings, you're probably looking at more 1.5 acres, 1.7 acres of that. I would say the center green space probably occupies about 2 acres of that. But every unit will have direct access, not only to these patios, but they're also getting into public open space. But once again, so you have parking really well distributed. Your zoning regulations require 149 spaces. We were able to fit 166 spaces, but you can see that hopefully you can see we've done that without creating these kind of big parking lots. So everybody has really good access. We also even have access to the rear around the entire perimeter. As part of the landscaping plan, we have a very strong buffer to the north and the south where those existing commercial industrial properties are. What you don't see, and as Kyle indicated, those buffer plantings are occupied mostly by evergreens, but there's a mingling of deciduous trees in there. What you don't see in the plan is we've also incorporated berming. So in addition to that, in addition to the evergreens we're putting in, we're actually berming those up and have some landscape forms. We actually ran a cut and fill analysis. The site is essentially a balance, so berming actually helped us a little bit. So those landscaping out, so there'll be berming forms, landscape forms on both the north and the south. Along the frontage of the property, it'll basically mimic to what you see today. We've really worked hard to save as many of those trees across the frontage. You can see on our plan, we've identified probably the majority of the trees to be saved. And then we've supplemented those with additional plantings and additional trees along the frontage. Really, it'll start to get more of a park-like feel to it. It's heavily buffered at the north and south where we're trying to buffer to our neighbors, but in the middle is more sparse, more park-like. In terms of, and then also I think we indicated, but right located, that central sidewalk system runs you right into a crosswalk and gets you onto the bike trail. We obviously have to work with the town a little bit to detail that crossing, that connection, whether we have a gate, whether we don't have a gate. But as Kyle indicated, wonderful asset to this community, but people will have ability to get right onto that trail, and topographically, it's really easy. The other benefit of this site being generally flat is from an ADA and accessible standpoint, it's really well done. No steep slopes. Virtually every sidewalk out there meets really flat gradient. So it's really speaks well to the topography on that. Next slide, Shannon. As I indicated, so we went out there and we did soil testing. So when we looked at this project, we said, what's the type of runoff that's coming off this site today? And we basically determined very little to none. So we worked really hard to mimic that approach. And we did that through, we did some soil testing, confirmed they were just wonderful sand and gravels out there. We have basically all the stormwater is picked up, and it's taken to really primarily 3 stormwater basins. There's 2 in the front and then 1 on the north. And those are designed to be basically 100% retention basins. We initially looked at a stormwater basin in the central green, but that was eating up some real estate, and we really wanted to have a lot of fun with this flat green space in the central portion. So in that location, we actually have underground chambers. A little more pricey, but it allowed that green space to be basically unbroken up. But the way the stormwater system is designed is we are going to put all the water back into the ground, recharge the groundwater, infiltrate to the point where we expect very little drainage to actually get on off-site. So we've, your water quality standards, or the DEP is recommending for us to infiltrate. The new standard that's going to come out in the spring is infiltrating just the first 1.3 inches. We're infiltrating everything up to the 100-year storm on this site. So basically really worked hard to mimic the stormwater requirements. And I think a testament to that is obviously, if you've had a chance to look at the town comments, I think, and when I talked to Bruce, he said, we got the stormwater covered on this one. So that was, so we probably took a more conservative approach. There is ultimately a high level overflow that goes to the state property. It already exists today. We'll be tying into New Britain Ave to go through there. So really was about approaching to mimic existing conditions. And even though, as Kyle said, there's 300 acres across the street, it can definitely take the stormwater, but we wanted to mimic that. We have received town staff comments. As I said, I spoke with Bruce here late on Friday. We went through those. His opinion, and I believe he checked the box to say that they can be conditions of approval. We think that obviously there's a bit of comments there, but we also believe this is an important project. And I think Bruce here put the time and effort in there. It's my opinion that most of those comments are as clarifications and additional details, like adding a bike rack, showing where the EV, but in terms of, I can sit here before you this evening, and it's my professional opinion that none of those comments would change anything that you're seeing up on the screen today. When I spoke with Bruce, the most thing that he was most concerned was the sewer extension, probably because it's a financial commitment to bring that up. But the feeling was that investment is a community investment because it allows a future extension for more development. Because I think the properties to the north of us are actually on septic. The sewer doesn't exist there. Stops to our south. We're going to bring it up. As I said, we brought it up to the property corner and jumped into our site. The town is asking us to bring that up to our center drive. So that's an additional, I forget what the distance is, but several hundred feet in New Britain Ave to serve for that. But in terms of, I've reviewed all the comments. Like I said, I spoke with Bruce on the thing, and we believe, and I think we've had a track record with this commission that we'll address those easily. So with that, I believe, Kyle, you're back up, right?
Thank you.
Yep.
Shannon, if you could go to the next slide, please. One more, actually. So I'd like to spend some time on affordability before I hand it over to Mark Vertucci for the findings from his traffic impact study. This community, as Tim, Attorney Hollister mentioned, will qualify as assisted housing within 8-30G. And what that means is that it will qualify as such by either obtaining financing from CHFA and DOH or receipt of low-income housing tax credits. As an assisted housing community, the town will receive credit for all 100%, 91 proposed apartments towards the 10% DOH list. The level of affordability, however, depends on the financing secured. Our preferred financing execution is through the low-income housing tax credit program. This is a federal program administered at the state level, and it's competitive. Our applications due in January, and like 80 South Road, which received an allocation in this year's round, if we are successful, our project will comprise 80% income restricted apartments and 20% market rate. You could go to the next slide, please. So more specifically, this is an affordability matrix. 20% of the apartments will be leased to someone making at or less of 30% of area median income, 40% to those making at or less 50% of area median income, 20% at 80% area median income, and 20% at market rate with no income restrictions. Next slide, please, Shannon. Is there one before that? There we go. Okay, great. So I wanted to look at the maximum incomes and maximum rents that can be charged under those restrictions. So these are annual figures that are produced by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And I find this particular part of affordable housing to be the most misunderstood. Who exactly can qualify for the apartments? So minimum wage in Connecticut is $15.69 an hour. So a full-time employee at minimum wage would earn roughly $32,000 annually. A family of one at a 30% AMI would qualify at a maximum income of $24,000 per annum, which is less than full-time minimum wage. However, a single person at 50% AMI, as you can see on your screen, can earn up to $41,000 per annum, which is 25% more than minimum wage, and still qualify. This could be someone in the service industry. This could be a healthcare aide. This could be a child services employee. A single person at 80% of AMI can earn up to $66,000, more than double minimum wage. So this could be a school teacher in Farmington with 5 years of experience. According to the town's affordable housing plan, 2,950, almost 3,000 households, 28% of the population, make less than 80% of AMI, and thus would qualify for some level of affordable housing program. The maximum rents that can be charged are at a significant discount. So taking a look at the 50% AMI as an example, the rents are $1,107 for a 1-bedroom and $1,328 for a 2-bedroom. That's roughly half of what the same identical apartment would rent for under a market rate condition. And rent restricted apartments in this environment are desperately in need at a time when apartment rents are rising much faster than wages are. Last I checked, it was a few months ago, but we had over a 500-person waiting list among the 4 income restricted communities that we currently own and operate. It's my next and last slide before I hand it over to Mark. So as Attorney Hollister referenced the 10% DOH list, I want to give you a kind of a perspective of where you are and where we're going with respect to the communities that have been approved and unbuilt, and also giving you some context as to where this proposed development might lead you. So in 2023, and I believe that these figures were submitted to DOH last month, Shannon?
Yeah, correct. It's required to submit in October.
So what you're looking at is 11,667 housing units, 953 assisted units, which results in a percentage affordable of 8.17%. But those 11,667 housing units don't include the 1,085 housing units that have been approved and haven't been built in town. So those are primarily the market rate apartments that have not been brought to CO in town. The Midpoint development, the Unionville apartment development. So with those in mind, to the extent those were included, and inclusive of that number are the 65 assisted units that are 80 South Road, the town would take a slight step backwards to just under 8% of a total percentage affordable. If you factor in a proposed community with 91 housing units, and of course, all of those housing units giving the credit towards the 10% DOH list, it brings your total percentage up to 8.64%, which is really in striking distance of what, 1 or 2 more communities can really get you to the closer to that 10% threshold level. Just looking at my notes. With that, I'll turn it over to Mark Vertucci from Buffalo.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. Good evening. I'm Mark Vertucci. I'm a senior transportation engineer at Fuss & O'Neill, 146 Hartford Road in Manchester. I'm also a registered professional engineer and professional traffic operations engineer. Fuss & O'Neill did prepare a traffic impact study. I just want to briefly describe our findings for you tonight. Up on the screen is a site location map. North is up. Site location has been described as located on the west side of New Britain Avenue, north of Route 6. So we looked at 2 intersections as part of the study. The proposed site driveway intersection with New Britain Avenue, and also the intersection of Route 6 and New Britain Avenue, which is signalized. On the next slide, we did conduct traffic counts at both of those intersections. Turning movement traffic counts were conducted on September 7th of 2023 when school was in session. Also on that day, we conducted an automatic traffic recorder count. That's the tube counters you see across the roadway. That was installed right along the site frontage on New Britain Avenue. What those counts showed was that the peak hours of traffic were 7 to 8 a.m. in the morning and 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So those peak hours were the hours we looked at in our analysis in the study. We then went ahead and we grew those traffic counts to the 2025 design year, which is what we would anticipate would be when this development would be fully built. We grew those counts by a 1.7% per year growth factor that was provided to us by the Department of Transportation Planning Division. Now, as far as traffic that will be generated by this development, on the next slide, we consulted rates that were provided in the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual. This is an industry accepted resource for determining traffic generation. For this development, the most applicable land use code we felt was 220 multifamily housing low rise. So for that land use code and for the 91 units that are proposed, the manual indicates we'll be generating 9 entering trips and 28 exiting trips in the morning peak hour traffic, and 30 entering and 17 exiting trips in the afternoon peak hour of traffic. So this development will be a very low traffic generating use. So in order to determine the impact from the proposed development, we took those 2025 background volumes, we added in the site generated traffic to obtain the 2025 combined or build year traffic volumes. And then we conducted a capacity analysis at both of our study intersections, first for the background, then for the combined condition, and just compared the two. What we found was at the intersection of Route 6 and New Britain Avenue, that intersection in the build condition, peak hours will continue to operate at an acceptable level of service C operation. And at the New Britain Avenue at site driveway intersection, the analysis revealed efficient level of service B or better operations for turns into and out of the site. On the next slide, we looked also at queues. In our analysis, there were no significant increases in queue lengths. In fact, it was negligible increase. The queues on each of the intersection approaches averaged less than 1 vehicle length. From a safety perspective, we did measure intersection sight lines from the proposed driveway location. The sight lines looking in both directions coming out of the site exceeded DOT criteria for safe egress. And lastly, we did look at crash analysis as well. We reviewed the latest 3 years of data provided in the Yukon crash repository. And that crash analysis revealed there were no abnormal crash frequencies or severities in the study area. So in summary, the conclusion of the traffic impact study is that the proposed residential development will not have a significant impact to traffic operations within the study area, and the development traffic can be safely accommodated on the adjacent road network. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Attorney Hollister, who has some closing remarks. Thanks.
Thank
Jeff, did you? Okay. All right, Mr. Sager has declined, so I would just say thank you. I want you to know we looked really hard to find something wrong with this site and we couldn't find it. So anyway, thank you for your patience in listening to us. I think that's what we have to present. And we're here for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That's a good documentation, right? That was provided prior to the meeting and today. All right, commissioners, let's turn it over to you for questions. Mike.
As always, thank you for the detailed presentation. Don't really have many questions. I know you said you were good with most of the items for consideration and conditions. How about the sidewalk installation along New Britain Avenue with the extension?
I think that the comment was to the extent we were successful in getting the public transportation, the bus extended to the site, which we will endeavor to do so. We would be be happy to install the sidewalk along the frontage to access that. I believe that was the comment. Shannon, correct me.
Correct. In the absence of any public transportation, which there's not, we pulled the transit. So right now there isn't any public transportation along New Britain Avenue. Or for that matter, even along this portion, particularly of Route 6. So unless there's a rework of the C3 transit, there does not seem to be a driving necessity to have sidewalk along the frontage.
Okay.
So I think it should stay as a condition so that if they are successful, then the sidewalk would be considered at that particular point in time.
I don't have anything further.
All right. Patrick?
Well, the only question I have is there like a meeting house or a common building? I'm assuming no, or you would have mentioned it probably.
In the building in the southwest corner of yes, there is effectively in the place of one of the 1-bedroom units on the ground floor, there's a 900 square foot club room. They'll have working pods, TVs. It'll be an area for residents to congregate. So that's what we're using in place of like a standalone clubhouse.
Yeah. No, thank you. That's all.
Right.
I'm just curious.
Okay, Liz?
This is kind of a procedure question, for our traffic engineer. How do you pick a day? I've been reading lots of these things, and do you just randomly say a Tuesday, and is a Tuesday more important than a Friday, or I guess you're the statistic.
Yeah, we try to pick a day that is a normal traffic operation, and we want it to be fairly conservative, so not like a Sunday where traffic volumes are low. And we also don't want to choose like a Monday or a Friday where sometimes people go away for the weekend, so there might not be as many people, but particularly now with people working from home, they don't often go into work as much on a Monday or Friday, so we try to pick a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday. There's not really one day that over the other, but it's we coordinate with our account subconsultant and schedule the day that is best. We also want to do it when school is in session as well. So we would not want to pick a week when there's spring break or something like that. But other than that, there's not a lot of magic to it. If it was for a retail development or something, we'd obviously have a different approach and pick a Friday evening or a Saturday to count. But for residential or office, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay. Peek behind the curtains.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that you have it with school in session and bus traffic or potential bus traffic, school bus traffic and things like that.
Yeah.
No, thank you for the detailed presentation all the way around.
Problem.
Thank you. All right, Matthew.
My question's on the berms. So they're on the north, south? Are they also on the roadside?
No, they're not on the roadside.
Okay.
So Shannon, maybe the grading plan might show it the best. Yeah, no, if I can step over if it's okay. Berm. Berm.
How tall are those?
These are, these are 1 foot high.
They are one.
Okay, so in this particular location, it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
So we try to fit in, so I would say they're probably 3 to 4 feet, and then we have also berms on the other side. These look like landforms in the front, they're actually depressions.
Okay.
So, and over here, same thing, berm, but that's a stormwater, so from a planimetric, they may look the same, but they're different. The intent on the front edge was not to screen the site. We think it's an attractive site. We want to save as many trees as we can and then complement those with filling in additional trees. So you're still going to have a very open view into the, we're not trying to hide it.
Okay. Yeah.
But with the parking lot to the south, I think if you look at the landscaping requirements, there's multiple ways you can do berming, you can do fencing, and you can do landscaping. The landscaping alone meets your standard. But then we found real estate and we were trying to balance the cut and fill. So there was an opportunity to fit some berms in there too. So, and then north and south is because that's where our neighbors are. And if you look at the aerial, even the property to the north, the building's not that far away off the property line. And then the parking lot here, we are removing about 20 feet of pavement, if you remember, but it was still an opportunity to build some berms there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
That's it?
Yeah.
All
that's
right.
it.
How about you, James?
I don't have any additional questions.
Okay.
I have one more.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
no, no,
just thought of,
It's all good.
any possibility of EV chargers or, hookups, or what role is that gonna play? Is it gonna be I know we all want to go electric.
And that's actually a town comment that and to be honest, the EV charging thing is changing so quickly. It's really hard to keep up, and there's questions and everything. I believe the new building code requires a new code that at a minimum infrastructure has to be put in. But we're working with it, and Metro, I think, uses these units where they're like a double charger where it's a single unit and then you can come up. But to be honest, we're really still trying to learn out the thing, even like, where do you put them? How do you put them? What do you do with the snow? How do you do? And actually even handicap parking and how that plays into, we believe that actually there has to be a unit that has to be handicap accessible. But there will be EV charging here, and with the new building code, the infrastructure for even additional has to be, and then I forget what the code is. There's a percentage. I'm sorry, 10% of the spaces have the hardware to do it at a later date. But really, we're in a new frontier on this, but our clients are trying to catch up as quickly as they can. But we will have that, and that was one of the comments town staff has. We need to at least show some now,
Okay.
and we'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, and I don't know if it's you, Mr. Daly, but can you explain the connection to the bike trail, which I think is awesome, but so is it a gate or like?
To be determined. So right now, right center in the middle of the project, we have this whole sidewalk system that comes through the center green and it lines right up to there. So it's a mid site, seemed to be a logical location. But to be honest, I think the best way to do that is we're going to meet with town staff on the field, look at it. We may want to move it to stay away from trees. I think we'll definitely have to have some signage. And I would think Metro would, at a minimum, some signage like, hey, this is private property, whether a gate gets put there is something to be determined. So,
Thank you. It's kind of human nature, right? But I noticed that the Plainville side, the parking lot fills up quite a bit.
yeah.
So why not
And-
park here? It's so lovely and sorry.
And
Nobody will do that.
yeah,
I'll just,
at a minimum, we'll also be making sure that we put, whether it's some timber guide rail or something, we don't want vehicles to come out through there, because the nice thing is this is pretty level flat. So we'll have to make sure and we do this on our bike trails all the time, whether it's a removable bollard or some type of thing, because we don't want motorized vehicles going in through there. So, but we understand the sensitivity of the trail. So really what I would say is I'm not even going to draw anything without meeting town staff out there and figuring out the best location for it. But we definitely wanted kind of mid-block, let all the residents not have to walk too far from there. But right now we're showing it right where Shannon's doing the arrow.
Okay.
Topographically, it's pretty easy to do.
thank you. And that's fair. Thank you. I do not have any other questions. I was thinking about traffic and I will never get the traffic studies, but thank you for not showing like half a car going through an intersection. Like, sorry, thank you. Whatever you rounded, I appreciate. And I think Route 6 can handle it, but that's my opinion. Any other questions, commissioners, before we turn it over to the public?
What about the chimney that's out there? From the old. Was it a house that was out there?
So
On
there are
the
two
property there?
meadows, right? And then
Yeah,
it's still there?
there is sort of a bizarre, I'm still trying to get to the bottom of exactly what existed there. Maybe you know.
I don't.
Okay. But yes, right where the forest, there's a small a handful of trees, but in the middle, there's like a concrete structure that's a little odd.
Curious.
Yeah.
Is it staying?
Mystery,
No, no.
Okay. All right.
the New Britain Avenue mystery.
I read about it,
All right.
what it was one time, but I forgot. But I know
Thanks,
it's-
Mike.
I know
Now
it's
we're all
still out
going to
there.
be driving in
We
there.
all have to go check out the historical society.
Sidewalk.
Yeah, no historical significance, right? All right.
Commissioner Gurfulis, that's your homework assignment for December.
I'll get on it.
Any communication, Shannon? Are we getting phone calls on this application?
So the we did receive 2 letters of support as Mr. Richards made reference to. We received the letter from FIP and from McPhee. They were in the project.
Yep.
I think I've got them. I don't have them open right now, but they are part of the project record. We did not receive any other written correspondence. I personally did not field any other phone calls regarding this application.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anyone in the room that wishes to speak regarding this project? Has any questions? Come on up. Thank you. Come up to the podium, state your name and give us your address, please.
That's a tough act to follow. I feel a little outnumbered here, but my name is Lynn Mahana and I live at 1169 New Britain Avenue with my husband, Lee Mahana, native of town. My next door neighbor is also here, Deb Root. Our house is about halfway between Meadow Road and Red Oak Road. If you come down Reservation Road, you see our house right there. My husband has had that house since he was 20, 21, 22 years old. So that's about 60 years or so. He's a native of town. We married approximately 38 years ago, so I've only been around for about 45 years in town, so I'm a newbie. I almost get the impression from hearing not a lot of questions from you and a wonderful presentation from Metro with their attorney and engineering crew that this is probably a pretty much done deal. But I would still like to have my say as far as how I feel about the way that the town is developing the area on New Britain Avenue. We've gone through quite a few things here over the years in regards to New Britain Avenue. And let me just go back a little bit here. Having lived on New Britain Avenue so long, we're well aware of who lives on and residential people on the street, but we also know the commercial buildings and some of the owners, one being Jimmy Rose, who we've been talking to in the last couple of weeks, who was not aware of this at all until it was in the paper. And to be honest with you, we saw the zoning signs out front of this particular property over the months, but never in our wildest dreams did we think that it was going to be 91 rental apartments because of it being in a commercial zone. So we didn't really pay much attention to it. Other towns will put up a zoning sign and tell you a little bit about what the property is happening to it. Your signs don't give a lot of information. So we kind of just were blindsided about this when we read it in the paper last week about Metro applying for a zone change from commercial to this acronym of NBAOZ. We're learning here. So that's why we're here tonight, because we were just kind of taken by surprise on this whole thing. But to give you a little history of living on New Britain Avenue, when the Rails to Trails came in, I have to be honest with you, my husband and I and our neighbors thought, oh, what a wonderful thing. Well, we've found out over the last few years or so since it went in, it's not such a wonderful thing if you live on the trail. Our property is probably, we can look right down onto the trail. People go by, obviously. We've had everything from night parties on the trail to medical concerns, people blaring radios, shouting, dogs going down, bears going down. We finally took down all our bird feeders about 3 years ago. We had like 18 bears in our backyard, plus the noise on the Rails to Trails and certain activities happening on Rails to Trails. And combining that with when they did the Rails to Trails, they straightened out New Britain Avenue, which now is a raceway going down from Meadow to Red Oak. And that's not just drivers that are disobeying the laws. That includes police vehicles, school buses, you name it. They all go over the speed limit. So we're caught in this New Britain Avenue traffic and the rails to trails. There's times we can't even go in our backyard without the noise from both of those things bombarding us. Now, the other consideration that will be coming down the road is putting a bridge on New Britain Avenue over to this side of town. And I don't know if you take in consideration, if and when that happens, the traffic that will come on to New Britain Avenue in addition to 91 apartments coming on. And at that point, I take a little issue with the traffic study. Who did the traffic study? You. Okay. I noticed it was 1 hour, 7 to 8 and 4 to 5. There's probably 2 times a week that Deb and I will have cars backed up in front of our houses. And we're right in about middle, like I said, between Meadow and Red Oak, getting through the stop signs, particularly at Red Oak there. And we're just wondering, how is this going to happen that there's only so many cars exiting a 91 apartment building, and there's only, what did you say? 28 exiting in the morning and 9 entering. That seems something's wrong with the picture here. And in the afternoon, there's only going to be 30 entering and 17 exiting. Nobody works in this complex. Nobody goes to work. I'm not quite sure how those figures worked out there, but that's one of our concerns there. And the bridge that will probably come in because you've already bought the property across from Monteith Drive. So that's in the picture here. And when my husband spoke to Jimmy Rose a couple of weeks ago, and Jimmy Rose is next door to the people that came in earlier for the Supreme Industries with their proposal. And he said, I had no idea until you just told me, and I looked it up in the newspaper that this was happening. So I'm not quite sure who you notified to get this message out that you were putting 91 apartments out, because even he didn't know about it. So I'm taken aback a little bit here and surprised at how fast this came about. And a couple other things, we were a little concerned about what was happening with all the trees in the front. And Kyle, you said that you're going to try to save some of those trees. We, living in Connecticut, we're used to the state of Connecticut now, cutting down every tree there is on the highways and everywhere else that they can find a tree to take down. One of the other things we were concerned about, because this is going to happen one way or the other here, what is going to happen with security at the complex? How are you going to, do you have any security cameras going to be installed at this complex? Going in, out, anything happening?
Mrs. Bahana,
Yeah.
the questions and comments are directed to the commission, and then the applicant will have
Okay.
an opportunity
All right.
to respond
All right,
subsequent to your opportunity to speak.
that's about all I have to say right now. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, come on up. Thank you.
I'm Deb Root, 1135 New Britain Avenue, their next door neighbor. I talked to a couple of people I know on Meadow Road, and they had no idea and were like really taken back that this is going through. Looks like it's going through. I worked on that last bridge that was proposed. I helped our neighbors get it to a referendum. And with that bridge coming over New Britain Avenue, at that time, 20 years ago, we were getting additional 2,000 cars in front of our house. So with that coming, looks like that's going to happen again. With that coming onto New Britain Avenue, plus this, all these people are not going to Route 6. They're coming down New Britain Avenue. there are gonna be kids going to schools, and I'm looking at the schools being overcrowded now. How many families and how many kids in the school system with overcrowding that they have right now? And with the traffic study, they did it for an hour in the morning, hour at night. What about the rest of the day? Because I know during the day, my mail now comes, their mail comes at 10 o'clock in the morning. My mail doesn't come till 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I have a hard time getting across New Britain Avenue to get my mail. And sometimes someone will stop for you, but you're even hesitant to walk across the road because the cars are flying past really fast. And I've lived there over 30 years, and I've only seen 3 people ticketed in front of my house. So, I'm worried about the traffic, the impact on the schools. And I just think it's not a good idea. I'd like to see a commercial building there, instead of apartments. So, and like Lynn said, the Rails to Trails is very noisy. With our windows shut, we can hear people walking on that trail and people walking up into our yards, to get off. They're knocking at our door, or, they're coming into the woods to use the bathroom. We get that all the time. So I think we get it from the back, and now we're getting it from the front, and I think it's going to be even more traffic than what you're seeing here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room that wishes to speak regarding this application? No. Maybe we should do the responses before we go online. Shannon, is that okay?
Your choice.
Okay. May we have like traffic concerns, security, safety, communication? Is that Kyle, tell us like who was notified?
As it relates to security, there will be cameras. Yes, there will be cameras on
Entrance
site.
or-
Entrance, exiting, other locations on site.
Okay. Communication, who was notified? All right, thank you.
We did the mailing that's required by your regulations, and Ms. Rutherford has the proof of that.
Yep. So this is, how many people are?
Okay, so the mailing is 200 feet from the property line. And which the mailings are posted 10 days prior to the hearing. The sign is posted on the frontage of the property 7 days prior to the hearing. And there are 2 mailings done to the newspaper, legal notices posted in the newspaper, approximately 2 weeks, and then again 1 week prior to the meeting. It was announced when the application was accepted at the public hearing or at the meeting. I'm gonna say roughly a month ago.
Right.
And then the documents are online. So, and it's, meeting notices are sent out via Everbridge as well for individuals that are signed up. But from a legal notice standpoint, it's 200 feet from the property line.
So
And it's this current property line, it was verified.
So none of the speakers would have received them because I think they're further outside of that.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. But the other.
That's the purpose of having these signs on the frontage of the property. So individuals traveling up and down New Britain Avenue would have an opportunity to see that sign posted. So that's.
Yep. And
That's
Mr.
why.
Rose being in a butter would have received it. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And that's registered? Certified mail? Okay.
Certified mail, return receipt.
Thank you. And traffic.
It's
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
two points before we get to traffic. Mr. Richards showed you the photos of the developments over the years. Relationship to abutting uses came up in every single one of those. I think Mr. Richards would say, you probably know, Metro has a track record of being a good neighbor, whether it's security cameras or buffers or making sure that their tenants follow the rules of what to do and not to do to be good neighbors. We certainly appreciate the neighbors' concerns, but I think with this applicant and with this property and with this design, there should be really no impacts. The other thing to consider, of course, is the property is zone C1. So all the things that could be in the C1 zone would be the alternatives. The lady that just spoke said that she'd rather see a commercial building. Well, maybe it'll be commercial. It could be also a lot of other things that would be much more traffic intensive than what is proposed, because residential, of course, spreads the traffic out in a way that commercial and retail and industrial does not. Mark, do you want to talk about 1 hour versus peak hour?
Yeah, good evening again, Mark Vertucci, from Fuss and O'Neill. Just wanted to clarify so the trips I stated, 9 entering, 28 exiting in the morning peak hour, and 30 entering, 17 exiting in the afternoon peak hour. So the morning peak hour, again, is just 7 to 8 a.m., that 1 hour, and the afternoon is 4 to 5 o'clock. So we chose those 2 hours because they're the highest generating hours of the day, not only for the commuter traffic or background traffic, school traffic on the road network, but also the traffic that would be generated from a residential development such as this. So just because there's 91 units, that doesn't mean there's 91 cars in the peak hour. Some people will come in and leave before the peak hour. Some will come in and leave after the peak hour. Some residents may be in a hybrid or work from home scenario. They might not leave their house, all day. So that's why there's not the 1-to-1, comparison, 98 or 91 trips versus 91 units. Again, as far as why didn't we look at the rest of the day, all the other hours of the day, the traffic generation is less. So if we show that the impact is insignificant in the peak hours, then by deduction, the rest of the day, the impact's also going to be de minimis during those hours as well. See if there's anything else here I wanted to note. I think that was it. I think that addresses
And these are standards
Yep.
you're following.
These are, this is typical traffic study standards that's used industry-wide. It's used by the Department of Transportation to look at those highest peak hours of the day and analyze those impacts.
Thank you.
Yep.
You good?
I am, yes.
Okay.
Do you want to go to?
Yeah, online. Yeah, go up to online.
Mhm. Okay, if anyone has called in on Zoom to offer comment regarding the application for Metro Realty regarding the amendment to the regulations, the change of zone and the site plan approval for the 91 units at lot 8562 New Britain Avenue, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom and you will be acknowledged to address the commission. One more time, if anyone has called in regarding the Metro Realty Management Corporation application for the amendment to regulation, the change of zone and site plan approval for 91 residential units at lot 8562 New Britain Avenue, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom, and you'll be acknowledged to address the commission. Madam Chair, there are no hands raised.
Okay. Commissioners, more questions? Mike,
No questions.
you're good? Patrick?
Yeah, can you just speak to the impact to the school system? That was one of the concerns. Do you know how many kids this type of product generates?
Yeah, if you could, Shannon, there's a slide, I think, in the,
Understood, yep.
so we looked at the industry standard for estimating the number of school age children is called, it comes out of Rutgers University. It's called the Rutgers Multiplier Study. We look at that, but we also look at what we have actually at our existing communities. And what we looked at here is, what you're looking at is a apartment type broken out by 1 and 2 bedrooms, market rate and affordable. Market rate apartments have far fewer children in them historically than affordable housing units. So what you're looking at is a total of approximately, and again, I'm estimating based on the affordability levels that I described to you. They could be less than what, but this is the most conservative estimate. around 25 children. What I'll note is that in the, while that may seem like a lot for a 91 apartment community, the vast majority of the apartments that have been approved in this town over the last 2-3 years, that roughly 1,000 apartments, there are virtually no affordable housing units in any of those developments. Those will produce very few school-age children. As you'll see from, then this holds true with what we experience in our own communities. But to compare a 2-bedroom market rate, or a 2-bedroom, I guess you can go 1-bedroom market rate, community has 1 child in it per 100 apartments. And so, I just want to offer that context, that not to just view this community in a silo. There are, this is a needed community in the midst of a lot of market rate apartments that have been approved over the last 5 years. So.
Okay. So 25 kids spread out through 4 schools, right? I mean, they're all ages, I'm assuming.
Right.
And that's what we had for. Okay, thank you.
You're good.
Mhm.
Liz?
Yeah, we've got 4 elementary, then Westwood's IAR, so total of 7.
Right.
Excuse me.
Well said.
Liz, did you have a question? Sorry.
No.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
wanted
no,
to
I meant
cough.
like-
While
they
you're
go
joking,
from
sorry.
unit-
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I understand you. 4 steps. How about that?
Exactly.
You're good.
I'm good.
James?
What's up?
Okay. I don't have any new questions at all. You answered, just, it's quiet on the phones. The engineering comments we're all set with? Or sort of, or,
No, correct. So they're noted as no objection to having them as conditions of approval.
That's
I
right.
believe the applicant and the engineer have both stated on the record they're agreeable to conditions of approval and getting a head nod, so.
okay.
Um,
I actually I'm changing my mind. New Britain, the opportunity zone, is it just this property? Or is it more than this property? I can't remember from the original information. Thank you.
that's applicability.
The zone criteria are essentially limited to this property.
I got the wrong one. Hang on.
Between 8 and 10 acres, southwest neighborhood, 600 feet of frontage on New Britain Avenue.
Okay, so it's very well defined, okay? I know it was stated somewhere, but okay,
Yeah, so it was in, and I toggled on the wrong one, but I have it. We can pull it up if you want to read it, but.
I'm good. I'm good. That was good.
As addressed.
All right. So commissioners, I'm thinking of closing the public hearing. We're good? All right. So, thank you, everyone. At this point, public hearing is closed on this application. Are everyone comfortable doing, the voting discussion? Do we need to put this off to next meeting? We're good? Everyone happy with what okay. So, how about a, motion and second, and then we'll do discussion. But we have actually 3, right? Things we gotta,
Correct. Yes, please. So they do need to be done separately. So there's the text amendments. Right, and so there's a note in the agenda report
Right.
about the legal dates of the text amendment and then the zone change itself and then the site plan with sequential effective dates.
okay, who is brave to do this?
I can do it.
All right,
I'll give it a
Patrick.
shot.
Yep.
Although I can't see my paper because my ink toner ran out, but anyways.
You need-
All right, so.
Need another copy?
Nah, I'm sorry. I'll get through it. Okay, all right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application by the Metro Realty Management Corporation for amendment to the regulations to add the New Britain Avenue Opportunity Zone for lots located at 8562 New Britain Avenue, north of 1690 New Britain Avenue, with an effective date of 16 days after the legal notice is published in the newspaper.
Okay, so that's number one.
Yes, text amendment.
That's number one. Who wants to second it?
I second.
Okay. Discussion on this portion. Do we do discussion in general or we're
I think we need a
This-
general.
pretty straightforward?
Yeah.
This
So
is
you
very
need- It would need, so
straightforward.
the discussion would need to be per each motion. So just so this is
Yeah, right.
specific, the motion, the discussion would be specific to the text amendment if there's anything.
We're good with the text amendment?
Yes,
Pretty
I,
straightforward.
it's very
So everybody knows what
good
we're voting on.
parameters. We know what we're talking about.
Okay, so let's do the
Okay.
vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, it's unanimous. All right, Patrick, you want to do the next?
Sure. And that one is, let me see here.
The zone change.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you? What, are you okay?
That's pretty bad, huh?
Do you see?
No,
that?
no, I can do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So. No, that's all right. I got it. All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the application. For zone change, for change of zone from C1 to NBAO zone. Located for property located at lot 8562 New Britain Avenue, north of 1690 New Britain Avenue. With an effective date of 17 days after legal notice is published in the newspaper.
Okay, and second,
Second.
all right. Discussion on this portion? We're good on this portion?
I mean, so, yeah, I mean, the only thing is zone change, obviously, zone change are a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, the product is great. Obviously, we need it. That's all we've been talking about is we need affordable housing.
Mhm.
Zone change is a big deal because obviously you're changing what the property can be used for. And I think that would be my only, hitch with it. Not that I'm really saying it's a hitch though, 'cause I think it's okay. After listening to the presentation, I think it's a good, I do think it's a good change. I mean, a property, right? You're not going to be able to build another building there per se. But it's also been sitting there for a long time.
Mhm.
So, I think it's a good change.
Right on the bike trail too. How cool is that, taking advantage of that?
Mhm. I agree. It's very well structured. It is a zone change, but it is a very well structured
Right.
zone change. There isn't a lot of wiggle room or vagueness or anything. So I think we pretty much know, hopefully no unintended consequences would come from this zone change.
Anything else? You're okay?
Yep.
All right. Everyone know what we're voting on? All right. All in favor of the zone change?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, unanimous. And the last one. Patrick, you're still good?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So, and this one is, we're just going to say as presented, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need to add the sidewalk or just add it? Just,
It's as presented, including engineering and planning.
Fine.
comments. It covers both and both the engineering review
Engineering.
and the planning agenda review.
Engineering and what you said?
planning.
Planning,
Planning, sorry.
okay. No
Planning.
problem.
Engineering plan.
Okay. So I'd like to make I'd like to make a motion to approve the application by Metro Realty Management Corporation for site plan approval for 91 residential units pursuant to CGS 830G located at lot 8562 New Britain Avenue, north of 16 New Britain Avenue, with the following conditions that what do you call it? The engineering comments and the planning comments be addressed. And also with an effective date of 18 days after legal notice is published in the newspaper.
Good job. And second?
Second, as long as it's 1690 New Britain Avenue. I thought I heard you say.
Oh, I said
16.
located at 8562 New Britain Avenue,
Okay.
north of 1690.
16. I thought you said 16. I just,
No, maybe I did.
okay.
I don't know.
All right,
Yes, seconded.
discussion. James, what do you think of the site plan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sympathetic to the neighbors' concerns. I think just overall, just all the traffic, issues that we have in town, the forward thinking of, the potential for a bridge across Monteith, onto New Britain Avenue. The speedway that is New Britain Avenue, I can only imagine. I don't live there. I don't travel on that road very often, but I can see that being an issue. So I guess my concern or my question would be, is what's the protocol to work with Farmington Police Department to address those concerns potentially, like work with the police department to potentially put like a traffic zone in there or something like that, or get some additional support.
So it can be
To address
brought
those
to,
concerns.
it can be brought to the police department's attention. There's also a traffic review board to review other options with respect to traffic enforcement for that area.
Okay.
Or speed bump or whatever. Can we recommend
Yeah.
that or?
I mean, there's not gonna be a speed bump on that road, but just having additional support from the police department, potentially address it and just look into it. I want to be sympathetic to that because I do, agree to some extent. With that said, I think the balance, we've been talking about affordable housing for the balance of this year. And the fact that we got 1,085 approved unbuilt, with only 65 affordable housing units. And this is a straight 91. I think is helps us in that percentage increase, helps us get to that 10% goal that we've been looking for. And we've been talking about having affordable housing in Farmington. And the site, this being the site, within a commercial zone. Yeah, I get the zone change. I appreciate your comments, Patrick, on the zone change and it kind of being a big deal, but it seems appropriate here. I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on traffic that's already there. So while sympathetic to those concerns, I think it's in a great presentation and,
Good.
so.
Thank you, Matthew. Thanks.
I think it's a well-designed product by the applicants. They've included a lot of extra details, energy efficiencies, accessibility to, the bike trails, a big components. It's something we need. And traffic, I agree. I think if we could have, the police department get involved there, if there is a mechanism to make that happen, I think it'd be great. But I think it's definitely something we need to do.
Okay, thank you. Liz, what do you think of the site plan?
I think it's a well presented and well researched, and I think a fairly forward thinking project in terms of addressing the key affordability issues, which is a huge deal, but also built-in amenities, looking to increase transit opportunities. And if a bus line could go, that would be great. I really appreciate all the details and taking the time to do it the right way. And as we said, we've been talking about affordability, and this meets that workforce housing needs that this town has. And they're awful nice looking units. So from my point of view, I think it meets a very big need that we have in a very good way.
Thank you. How about you, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything
Good.
you guys
Okay.
have said. I mean, I do this for a living, so I know, I can really see what the layout and I appreciate the layout. I mean, I don't think you could do a better job laying this piece out. It's gonna look great. So.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Mr.
I'd
Grubel,
just
is you good?
Echo everybody else. No, like James said, I appreciate the traffic concerns, but I can't base my decision for this project based upon a proposed third bridge. We can't do that. So.
Okay. Well said. I thank you, commissioners, for looking at tons of information over the last month. Obviously today, your thoughtful comments. The reality is that not everyone can afford to buy a house in Farmington. And this is a wonderful community. I love it. I love the amenities. I love all the green space. I think being on the bike trail it sounds like it's annoying if you're directly on it. I benefit from it. Hopefully my dog is not too crazy. And I don't know if it's optimistic, but if I lived here, I would not be driving through Unionville. I would be going on Route 6. So I hope that happens, for the neighbors that are concerned. Yes, and I think I'm ready to vote. Is everyone ready to vote? Okay. All right. So all in favor of the site plan for this application?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. So we're all set. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, go. Take it. Yes, take a minute. Yep. Because we have one more
Change.
application. Yep. Thanks. I know they are coming back, right? Just kidding. I know.
Yeah, I'm staying, okay?
Oh, geez. Okay.
Thanks.
Almost done.
Yeah. That'll be much quicker. Went up a time over there.
Tough.
How are you feeling without being out of ballot tomorrow?
Feeling amazing.
You don't even have to say anything.
Hey, John, it's Shannon Rutherford. I just thought I'd check your audio.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can. Yep. Okay. So there's a couple commission members that took a break, so we're just taking a little bit of a recess and then we'll come back.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right.
Oil. I feel like the tip dance.
Are you gonna do it all your free time?
Right?
I know.
Stay on the least.
Have a lot going on, right? Because he's just okay.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like a house.
Instant.
It's like a house. No matter what's like it, you build it, damn thing. And then moving. Yeah, no, it's okay.
No, it's the hour change, I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh, my dog at 4:30 is like staring, like, you lazy owner, feed me. It bad. Not adjusted.
Wrong, because that means that, you mean 4:30 in the morning or
No,
4:30 in
no.
the afternoon?
More, we are definitely, she's getting up when it's dark, but no, 4:30 PM.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Normally it's 6 o'clock, but if she has bumped it up.
No, yeah, I thought you initially meant AM.
Mm-mm.
And I was gonna say, well, that was your fault for establishing a 5:30 AM routine to begin with.
It's light though. It was nice this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tomorrow's gonna be so nice. Oh my God. I'm gonna be driving here.
You can see the sunrise.
That's true. Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
right.
It's a lovely.
Okay, never mind. Mike, we just need one more.
Yeah, we just say Michael back.
There, he is. Okay. All right, we're good?
Moderately.
All right. All right, so the last application in front of us is an application from Noreen Galvin. It's for text amendment to the zoning regulations, Article 4, Section 21 for accessory apartments. And
Okay.
who is presenting?
Well, it's gonna be a little bit of a hybrid. We've got John Galvin on the phone. John, I'm assuming you're representing the application on your sister's behalf. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right.
So, John, why don't you do, I know we talked about a couple of ways of doing this. Do you want to do a couple of minute intro as to the genesis, since it did start as your application, what your
Right.
thoughts, driving goals were, and then I can jump in and discuss what Garrett and I did to advance this.
Okay. Yeah, I think, given that you're going to do all the heavy lifting here, I'll just say a couple of words and then step away. Noreen, my sister, 162 Wood Pond, filed an application for zone text amendment, I guess it's called. Essentially just asking the zone to make the change so that accessory dwelling units would be allowed per the affordable housing plan. So I did it. I put in the application. I made a feeble attempt at rewriting the reg a little bit, but clearly it took Shannon and the rest of the town staff to do the heavy lifting and produce the work product that you see in front of you tonight. So I'm here to answer any questions, but I suspect that Shannon will be the one that will probably have to answer most questions.
Okay. All right, I will jump in, and Garrett is here as well. Garrett did the lion's share of this to get this reworked for us. So as Mr. Galvin indicated, and we had talked, right, about our accessory apartment regulation and figuring out how to rework this so that there's and we're going to eliminate the word accessory apartment, and we're going to refer to it as an attached dwelling unit as the accessory apartment, and a detached dwelling unit would be a standalone, whether it's a sole structure or an apartment above, say a detached garage, anything, any apartment that is detached from the main primary residence would fall into that detached accessory apartment requirement. So Garrett did a great job on getting this off out of the gate for us. So what we have before you is, I've got the clean version that's up on the screen. I also have the track changes. Both were submitted to you, both are online, and both have now been resubmitted to the town clerk's office. And to Krog? I'm asking, yes, I'm getting a head nod. Yep. And to Krog, yes, thank you. So with this change for the detached accessory dwelling unit, it eliminated the need to have a guest house definition, because the guest house definition was only allowed in R80 and required that it was used truly, it couldn't be rented. It was for when you had family in from out of state or again, domestic. So there was a relative or domestic service requirement for use of the guest house. It was not to be rented. With the use of the term detached accessory dwelling unit, it's going to eliminate the guest house definition. We took the time to do some clerical changes, just some grammatical things through this. So some of those are highlighted as well. Under our 80, 40, 30 zones, the attached accessory dwelling unit up to 700 square feet and no more than one bedroom would be allowed by right, with a registration form that would come to our office and ideally recorded on the land records is what we're planning. And this is consistent with what the former accessory apartment regulation had allowed by right. It had been up to 650 square feet. The 700 aligns with the new public act. There you go.
So Public Act 2123, which was adopted in the 2021 legislative session, was a number of items, including the state requiring that towns allow attached and detached ADUs, parking changes. I think there's a third thing, but towns could opt out. So Farmington opted out of the accessory apartment regulation. In that state regulation, apartments were allowed up to 1,000 square feet by right per the state. So we'll get to that later. For our regulation, the original limit was 900 square feet for a 2-bedroom. We've bumped that up to 1,000. So correspondingly, we bumped up the 1-bedroom from 650 to 700.
There you go. Explanation provided.
Thank you.
These are just grammatical items, but we're going to move into the special permit. And this is where you will see, so we've added under the special permit, attached accessory dwelling unit greater than 700 square feet and or containing 2 bedrooms in accordance with the Article 4 section. They're all in accordance with Article 4, Section 21, because that's where all the details are provided.
Yep.
And any detached accessory dwelling unit. So, so regardless of the size, if it's a detached accessory dwelling unit, it's going to kick you into a special permit and a public hearing. So the only thing that would be allowed by right would be the accessory apartment up to 700 square feet or 1 bedroom. Once the attached gets larger than 700 square feet or increases to more than 1 bedroom, then that's also a public hearing, special permit. Okay, so then this is just carrying it through. R20 is going to allow everything the same as R80, 40, and 30. So the detached would be allowed down to the R20 level. What you will see is starting at the R12. So there's an R12 and an R12 Lake Garda zone, and R9 and an R9 Lake Garda zone. So there's 4 more discussions of different residential zones. These are permitted uses. So the permitted uses, again, it's the accessory apartments are currently allowed in all the zones. So we're allowing them here as well. And again, for up to 700 square feet would be by right, and in excess of 700 square feet would be by special permit. So this is allowing all the permitted uses are going to carry through to R12. With the special permit, we're going to allow the accessory, but we are not allowing, we're going to allow the attached accessory dwelling unit, but not the detached accessory dwelling unit. So the detached would only be allowed in R80 through R20. The thought being the lot size with these and trying to functionally manage a separate dwelling unit on a property less than 20,000 square feet. So that was the thought behind that. Certainly, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to walk through this evening, and then we're going to table the action on this to December to let you all look at this and start to pull it apart. If there's questions, you can wait till December, or you can get them to me, and then we'll make that part of the public record and add that in as part of the discussion with us. So this is consistent again all the way through. So this is the R12 Lake Garda, attached, allowed by right up to 700 or by over 700 special permit, and then no detached. It's an exception. You're not allowed to have the detached accessory dwelling unit. The same thing for the R9 and the R9 Lake Garden, or that says Oakland Gardens. So then it brings us to the complete rewrite of the accessory apartment regulation. It's now going to be referred to as our accessory dwelling unit regulation. And we came up with definitions of what is an accessory dwelling unit and what it means to be an attached accessory dwelling unit versus a detached accessory dwelling unit. And one attached or detached is here. Yes, so this is just the general provisions then for the ADUs of what we're what our expectations in these standards are to follow for an ADU. So there's general provisions that talks about, you can't exceed 30% of the habitable floor area of the given home. We talk about the owner and wanting who the owner is and what, and this is the same terminology that had been in the accessory apartment, that they have a estate for life or minimum 50% fee simple ownership, and they will occupy at least the principal or the accessory unit for 6 months of the calendar year. And the ADU can be rented or leased, and we put a stipulation of not less than 6 months so that we don't get these on a week or a month basis of, right, we're not looking to have Airbnb. Thankfully, we don't have many, we're not a shorefront or waterfront property, so there's, or community, excuse me, so there's not really a driver for Airbnbs. We do get inquiries, but we were hoping with the period of 6 months to deter that, or if nothing else would give us enforcement rights should we find out that there be an issue. The principal and accessory dwelling unit have to remain under common ownership. And similar architecture and materials. Health department review, obviously, for anything that's on a septic or well, and no additional driveway unless approved by the commission. So we then go into specifics for the attached accessory dwelling unit, and we talk about lot size, minimum lot size. This starts to get into what's permitted with the room, the building size, the apartment size itself, the dwelling unit size, the parking space requirement, and the bedroom requirement. And then there's a separate for a 2-bedroom unit. And the 2-bedroom then talks about the a larger lot size and the public hearing requirements. So it would be necessary in 2 parking spaces. Detached, we go through some of the similar parameters. We talk about the size, the maximum size. So for a detached, we up the size. You'll notice, so this one attached has the 700 square feet, 1 bedroom, 700 square feet, 2-bedroom, up to 1,000 square feet. And then the detached, we bumped up to 1,200 square feet. We set a minimum lot size of 1,500 square feet, or sorry, 15,000 square feet. We did that because there are some R20 lots, obviously, that are not 20,000 square feet. So they're existing non-conforming, or they're in a cluster, but they're still technically zoned R20. So we put this in to try to cover both the intent. So if we get a cluster, it's R20, but it's at 10,000 square feet, they're not meeting the minimum lot size. They're going to get kicked out. They can't apply. So they'll have to meet that minimum lot size of 15,000. The location matches the discussion that we have for many of our other accessory amenities for a residential building, like sheds, pools, satellite dish, and solar panels, those type of things, that we want them behind the wall, the longest wall of the principal dwelling towards the rear of the home. In this case, we are requiring that the side and rear setbacks be held for as they would for the principal building. So we don't want them, a shed can be 5 feet off your property line. Technically, a detached garage can be 5 feet off your property line, but if it's going to be a dwelling unit, we want it to adhere to the setbacks of the zone. So we've got that. And then height is the same, 15 feet. So we wouldn't want, now again, if somebody's looking, if it's an existing detached structure, I think we said unless converting an existing detached structure which existed prior to the effective date. So if you had an existing detached accessory garage, detached garage, and somebody had a second floor studio or loft or storage space that they now wanted to convert to an apartment, and it already exceeded that 15 feet in height, then this regulation as written would allow that.
This is a lot of work. Thank you. Wow.
A lot, yes, thank you.
So it's a lot to digest. Thank you for tracking the changes. Actually, should I be even speaking, Shannon? I don't know if you're.
No, you
done.
can. So I'm finished.
Okay.
So I'm finished. What I'm realizing, I'm looking at this, and Garrett, you're gonna have to, I'm not seeing the side and rear yard measured. Oh, here we go. Detached must meet the side and rear yard setbacks for the zone, and there we go. That was right in the lead.
D4.
I was looking for in here in the A, B, C, D, the side and rear yard setbacks, but it's right in the main part of 4. So you must meet the side and rear yard setbacks for the zone, and the and talks about the location behind the principal dwelling. Okay. So we've only looked at it a few times along with a few other things. So, but, no, so there's a comment for you. Certainly if Mr. Galvin or his sister want to make comment, or if there's anybody else online. But the thought would be, hear any public comment this evening. And then let this sit for 30 days, because there's such a difference in what had been presented with the application versus how this has evolved and really was only finalized last week. I want to make sure that we're allowing appropriate time for review for you folks, but also for public review and comment on this to as much as possible. So it's on the website. It'll stay on the website for the 30 days. And it's been sent to CROG. So
Thank you. Again, thank you for putting this together. So, and any comments, suggestions, whatever, we can send to you in the meantime.
absolutely. If there's any questions this evening, I'm happy to address any questions this evening, but anything in the interim, if something comes to mind or you're concerned about something, it does not have to wait till December. Get it to us. We'll compile everything and then get it back out with the agenda items in December and have that posted so that it's available for everyone.
So, I said with this, we've talked, Mr. Galvin has approached some of us already, and that's how he got to you, Shannon. So kudos for him on perseverance. There you go. Good word. All right. So when we talk about ADUs, we're talking about a small residence that shares a single family lot with a larger primary, right, home.
Correct.
It's independent, self-contained, so it's living space with a kitchenette or kitchen, bathroom and sleeping area.
Correct. It would have to be a full independent living. That's the
Okay.
intent.
Let's see, that it can be located within and attached to or detached from the main residence. So then I started thinking, I'm tired, so I'm just telling you exactly what's happening in my head. But so I'm thinking of people that, economy, things are tough, right? Maybe some people will say, wait, that this is kind of cool. Farmington is allowing it. I need to pay my mortgage. So anyone that has a detached garage, as long as they fit this criteria, I'm just trying to think what could happen with this. I'm sure cost of redoing the space is going to be a deterrent to some people, right? But will people do this without asking for permission? I'm just kind of wondering where this may go.
So it would require, will someone do it without asking permission? Sure. There's also nothing stopping them from doing that today with or without this regulation.
Sure.
So, that's, in general, I'm assuming if they have a detached structure or accessory space, they would need a building permit in order to, most detached structures that we have in town do not have all utility services to them. They will have, many of them have electric, obviously for lighting and garage doors or whatever. Some of them have water for hose spigots and whatnot. Few of them have sewer, so there's not a full sink. Some of them do have a utility sink in there. Very few detached garages that we approve that I'm aware of have a utility sink. So you wouldn't, And again, it hasn't been set up to allow for just going and inhabiting this space. Anything that has been done, if there's been, say, a studio, there's one we did not too long ago, had a yoga studio on the second floor. And we have them sign a basically a restriction that, indicates we acknowledge we understand the zoning regulations. This is not to be used as an accessory apartment, et cetera, and it's on file with our office if there happens to be issues with it down the road. So.
Okay. So actually, what happens to people that already have something like this? Can we, it's gonna be current or retroactive or?
So anyone that has an accessory apartment now could rent it out, really. So if they have an accessory apartment, up until now, they had been limited up to a maximum size of 900 square feet. Now it's 1,000. It's still just a maximum of 2-bedroom. For anyone that has a legally approved accessory apartment, now we're going to change the term to a dwelling unit. Really, the only other change is the ability to rent out that unit rather than have the restriction of being a relative or being
That's right.
for domestic
Caregiver
care.
or whatever, yep.
Correct.
Okay.
Right? Did I get that? Was there
Yeah.
any other thing?
Yeah.
Or was just that?
Okay.
Yeah. So anyone that already, and no one, folks that have a guest house, so that we do have properties. So right now, guest house was limited to the R80 zone, I believe.
Yep.
So those that have a guest house could now choose to rent them out.
So, okay, thank you.
And I mean,
Yeah.
ideally they would convert it or provide acknowledgement, but if it's already a guest house, there's nothing in here, the way this is written, that's forcing them to register with it, with us.
Okay.
So it would have already had a special permit for the guest house.
Yeah.
And it would have been located appropriately at that time.
Okay.
So
Makes
presumably
sense. Sure.
it's already located to be a dwelling unit.
And moving right along, as I completely should have started with the commissioners, the one thing you mentioned, Airbnb. So I see this in my field. So Airbnb, the process is you should be talking to the town you're in, but the really big thing is also calling Airbnb, and they will tell you if a property is allowed to be under their umbrella or not. So unfortunately, some people, as long as they get the Airbnb permission, they kind of forget.
Understood.
I think maybe, why wouldn't we just say it here? No Airbnb. You mentioned it. I'm just wondering if,
Well, I think the lease requirement of having to be
I would
the
just
6
put it in.
months.
I might,
You could add, in there, no short-term rentals permitted.
yep, yeah. That would be my comment. And Mike, do you have any thoughts right now? We're gonna cook on this a little bit, like Shannon said, but do you have any?
Nope. Looks great.
He's like 10 o'clock. Let's go.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your work on it. And this is certainly something that we had talked about. Good.
Patrick,
No, nope, I'm just gonna digest it.
Liz?
Lot to read. Thanks for all the heavy lifting, as Mr. Galvin put it.
All right. Matthew?
Gonna let it cook?
I know, that's technical term.
Everyone getting hungry?
I guess, yes, I know. How about you, James?
Nothing from me. All good.
Okay, I'm glad I went on and on. All right, so, is there anyone else besides the Galvins on the line or?
There are a few, so I'll just ask,
thank
just
you.
to make sure that we're covered. If anyone has called in to offer comment or question regarding the text amendment to the accessory apartment regulation or the new accessory dwelling unit regulation, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom and you will be acknowledged to address the commission. Again, anyone that's called in to offer comment on the accessory dwelling unit regulation, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom. Okay, Mr. Galvin, do you have anything else that you'd like to share or comment or question?
Yes, the Jets are doing very Jetsian things tonight. I just want to say that.
Great.
Other than that, no, but again, Shannon, thank you and the town staff, Garrett, for doing all the real work here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, thank you to you both. So we need a motion and a second to continue this item, please.
Let me do that one.
Go for it.
My paper's away.
Oh, you typed it already?
Couldn't read it. anyway.
I'd like to make a motion to continue the application by Noreen Galvin for a text amendment to the zoning regulations, Article 4, Section 21 on accessory apartments till our
December
meeting,
11th.
our December 11th, 2023 meeting.
Right, and second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. All right, thank you. We need to approve minutes from October 23rd. Motion and second, please.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 23rd, 2023 Town Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Shannon, any planners things?
I do not.
All right, 10:02, meeting adjourned.